Chapter 2199. What exactly does Ningyu have on him that can withstand the pressure? Xiaoyi stared at Ningyu and didn't dare to move. Ningyu was only a half-step essence immortal, and it was impossible for him to withstand the pressure in the water-moon pool with his cultivation alone. In other words, Ningyu definitely had a Dharma treasure on him that could withstand the pressure. As for what that Dharma treasure was, Xiaoyi hadn't discovered it yet. Huff! In the middle of the water-moon pool, Ningyu took a deep breath and exhaled heavily. To be honest, initially, he didn't know why he could move forward so easily in the water-moon pool. But as time passed, he was finally sure. The things that allowed him to move forward easily in the water-moon pool were the leftover materials from the lightning pool and his fully awakened divine body of war bloodline. To be precise, he relied on the divine body of war bloodline from the first round to the 8th round of the water-moon pool. But from the 8th round onwards, he relied on the leftover materials from the lightning pool. Previously, Ningyu might not have been sure about the material of the square platform. But now, Ningyu was completely sure. The square platform was made of the same material as the leftover materials from the lightning pool. They were all materials from the lightning pool. Could the square platform be a lightning pool? Ningyu's expression was solemn. That was the only explanation. Otherwise, a leftover material from the lightning pool wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure. Go! Biting his lips, Ningyu decided to give it a try. He lifted his right leg and took a step forward. Swish! Beside the water-moon pond, the core disciple's eyes were wide open, not even blinking once. Boom! The next moment, Ningyu's right leg touched the square platform. A terrifying energy flowed into Ningyu's body through his right leg. It really is the lightning pool. Ningyu's pupils constricted, and he stood rooted to the ground as though he had been electrocuted. The square platform was the lightning pool. Why was there a lightning pool here? Moreover, from the energy that entered his body, Ningyu could tell that it was not as simple as he thought. At the very least, the lightning pool would only appear when a virtual immortal ascended to a peerless immortal. Who is the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance? Ningyu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He had already guessed the general situation. The leader of the Water-Moon Alliance must have captured the entire lightning pool and sealed it within the Water-Moon pool. No wonder the leftover materials from the lightning pool could withstand the pressure. Voila! When the core disciples saw Ningyu's right foot touching the square platform, their eyes widened in disbelief. They remembered it clearly. The leader of the Water-Moon Alliance had said that whoever could touch the square platform would be the next leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. Ka. The reactions of the core disciples were quite normal. Xiao Ye's reaction was to clench his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. Although Xiao Yi didn't want to become the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance, he didn't want to participate in the power struggle. However, it was undeniable that Xiao Yi had always thought that he was the best candidate for the next leader. Ningyu touching the square platform meant that his position as the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance had received a huge blow. If the current leader changed his mind, he would definitely become the next leader of the Water-Moon Alliance instead of Ningyu. Xiao Yi couldn't bear such a psychological blow. It made sense. In a short period of time, Xiao Ye's heart suffered a series of blows. First, Ningyu advanced alongside him. Then, he failed to attack the square platform. Now, Ningyu succeeded in attacking the square platform and became the most advantageous candidate for the position of the next leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. How could his state of mind not be affected? Xiao Yi, who was affected, spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. His aura was weak. However, Xiao Yi was indeed the #1 core disciple of the Water-Moon Alliance. Even though his state of mind was affected and he was breathing weakly, he still jumped out of the Water-Moon pool. One had to know. If it was anyone else, they would probably be suffocated by the immense pressure. The fact that Xiao Yi was able to escape was enough to prove his strength. Rumble! Right at that moment, A rumbling sound came from the high platform. Lightning tribulation? Song Qing and the others were dumbfounded when they heard the rumbling sound. Why was there a lightning tribulation? Even if there was, it shouldn't have come from the square platform. Essence, immortal lightning tribulation. Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He leaped onto the square platform. Since no one had been here before, Ning Yu was the only core disciple of the Water Moon Alliance who knew that the square platform was a lightning pool. Swoosh! As soon as Ning Yu jumped onto the square platform, a tribulation cloud as thick as a person's waist shot out from the bottom of the platform and slammed toward his body. Block it! Ning Yu hurriedly used his body of the war god bloodline to block the first tribulation cloud. Actually, Ning Yu couldn't be blamed. He had no choice but to use his body of the war god bloodline. The power of the first tribulation cloud was comparable to a half-step peerless immortal. Essence immortal laws were useless against tribulation clouds of the half-step peerless immortal level. Unless he used his body of the war god bloodline, Ning Yu might not even be able to block the first tribulation cloud. The next instant, the tribulation cloud crashed into Ning Yu's body. The terrifying impact caused Ning Yu to spit out a mouthful of blood, and his body swayed. Hold on! At that moment, the energy that Ning Yu had absorbed previously played a huge role. The energy that Ning Yu had absorbed from the Water Moon pool was enough for him to break through to the Essence Immortal realm. However, Ning Yu was not ready. Moreover, there were so many core disciples here. He was afraid that the tribulation would be terrifying, so he deliberately suppressed the energy in his body. Unexpectedly, his impromptu decision helped him a lot. Without the help of the energy in his body, he could not stabilize himself at all. Simulated lightning pool. After blocking the first tribulation cloud, Ning Yu instantly understood. The lightning pool on the square platform was not a real one, but a simulated one. His essence immortal realm tribulation was also shot out from the simulated lightning pool. After all, the power of the real essence immortal realm tribulation would definitely be several times stronger with so many people here. The tribulation cloud's power did not increase significantly, and after the first tribulation cloud, there was no trace of the second tribulation cloud. This situation was clearly abnormal. I wonder if there is any tribulation liquid in the simulated lightning pool. Since he had confirmed that the square platform was a simulated lightning pool, Ning Yu's mind became active. If the leader of the Water Moon League could simulate a lightning pool, he could simulate tribulation liquid. If he could devour tribulation liquid, then even if he could not advance to the essence immortal realm, his strength would still increase by several times. With his current strength, because there was a lot of energy sealed in his body, he could fight against a half-step peerless immortal if he released it all at once. If he devoured some tribulation liquid, Ning Yu was almost certain that he was strong enough to hold his own against a true peerless immortal. He could easily kill a half-step peerless immortal. Of course. Chapter 2200. Let's wait and see. Ning Yu was not an indecisive person. He decided to use his perception to see if there was any heavenly tribulation fluid in the simulated electric pool. If there was, he would have profited. If not, he had nothing to lose. Hiss! However, Ning Yu sucked in a breath of cold air the moment his perception entered the simulated lightning pool. At the same time, Ning Yu's face revealed a look of ecstasy. The reason why Ning Yu was ecstatic was not because he had found the heavenly tribulation fluid in the simulated electric pool, but because he had found a small bottle of something even more terrifying than the heavenly tribulation fluid. The small bottle was not too big, only the size of a palm. However, there were 10 virtual immortal nomological laws in the small bottle. How could Ning Yu not be excited? To him, every additional virtual immortal nomological law in his body would increase his strength. Now that there were 10 virtual immortal nomological laws in the small bottle, once he could refine them all, his overall strength would soar to the point where he could fight a peerless immortal. Come out! Ningyu did not waste any time. He used the 7 virtual immortal nomological laws in his body and sent them into the simulated electric pool to bring the small bottle out. Swish, 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 swish. Under Ningyu's control, the 7 virtual immortal nomological laws moved at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, they entered the simulated electric pool and brought the small bottle out. Gotcha! As soon as the small bottle was brought out, Ningyu grabbed it and threw it into his mouth to chew. Buzz buzz. As Ningyu chewed, the small bottle completely shattered, and the 10 virtual immortal nomological laws inside entered Ningyu's body. Refine. Ningyu sat cross-legged on the simulated electric pool and began to fully focus on refining the virtual immortal nomological laws. What's going on? Has Ningyu lost his mind? There was a heavenly tribulation cloud just now, why did it disappear now? At the edge of the water-moon pool, many core disciples were dumbfounded when they saw Ningyu's actions. Previously, Ningyu had been resisting the tribulation clouds with all his might. But now, he was actually sitting there doing nothing. Something's wrong. Suddenly, some of the core disciples discovered some clues. At first, they thought that the small bottle Ningyu had swallowed was just to replenish the energy he had expended. But now they were finally sure. The small bottle that Ningyu swallowed contained essence, immortal nomological laws. They came to this conclusion because, as time passed, Ningyu's body actually emitted the aura of the essence, immortal nomological laws. Even though most of them were at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, or rather, the pinnacle of the ancestral immortal realm. However, this did not hinder their sensitivity to essence, immortal nomological laws. After all, they more or less had a few essence, immortal nomological laws in their bodies. Damn it! Xiao Yi was naturally excluded from the shock of the core disciples. At this moment, Xiao Ye's heart was filled with anger, anger to the extreme. All the benefits were supposed to be his. Unfortunately, he did not reach the square platform, allowing Ningyu to take advantage of it. Humans were like that. Instead of thinking about their own problems, they would blame others for strengthening their own things. If Xiao Yi reached the square platform before Ningyu, Ningyu would definitely give up. Crack, crack, crack. Xiao Yi clenched his fists tightly and secretly made up his mind. As long as Ningyu left the water-moon pool, he would immediately make a move to get back at him. As for whether he could snatch back the benefits that Ningyu had obtained, he was not particularly sure. Anyway, it would be best if he could snatch it back, but even if he could not, he had to let the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance know that he was the most advantageous candidate for the next leader position. In the past, Xiao Yi did not want to fight for the position of the leader. But now, he was very much looking forward to snatching the position of the leader. TSK. Ningyu did not know what Xiao Yi and the other core disciples were thinking. To him, refining the essence immortal nomological laws and improving his own strength was more important than anything else. Drip, drip. Time passed minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. The essence immortal nomological laws in the simulated lightning pool were especially difficult to refine. In a day, Ningyu had refined them with all his might, but he had only refined 2 of them. At this rate, he would need at least 5 days to completely refine the 10 essence immortal nomological laws. Fortunately, there were still 6 days before the brilliant void meet. As long as he refined all 10 essence immortal nomological laws before the brilliant void meet, there would be no problem. TSK. The next day, Ningyu refined another 2 essence immortal nomological laws. Next, the 3rd day, the 4th day, until the 5th day. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly emanated from Ningyu's body. Time passed much faster than he had expected. Initially, Ningyu thought that he would only be able to refine the 10 essence immortal nomological laws in 5 days, but the further he went, the faster the refining speed became. In the end, it only took 4 days for Ningyu to completely refine the 10 essence immortal nomological laws. Very good. Sensing the additional 10 essence immortal nomological laws in his body, Ningyu was delighted. Given his current strength, he could fight against a half-step peerless immortal expert even without using the energy sealed in his body. If he used the energy sealed in his body, even if he encountered a true peerless immortal expert, he could still fight. Of course, the energy sealed in Ningyu's body was limited. The more he used, the less it would be. According to Ningyu's estimation, unless he used up all the energy in his body, he could only run if he encountered a peerless immortal expert. There's still a day left. Why don't I seal some more energy? Ningyu's eyes darted around as he stared at the water-moon pool and thought to himself. Ningyu knew the situation in his body better than anyone else. Because he had refined 10 essence immortal nomological laws, he was far from reaching his limit. Thump! Ningyu was swift and decisive. He leaped from the simulated lightning pool and entered the water-moon pool again. What's Ningyu trying to do? I don't know. Is he going to continue cultivating? Of course he's going to enter the water-moon pool at this time. What do you think he's doing? Ningyu is really a freak. Many core disciples were discussing beside the water-moon pool. However, compared to the initial mockery and jealousy, everyone was doing very well now. There were still 2 days before the Brilliant Void meet. At that time, they would have to choose 5 people to represent the Water-Moon League against the Gods Alliance and the Gods Slaying League. Given Ningyu's strength, he would definitely be one of the 5. At that time, if Ningyu could help them during the battle, their chances of survival would be higher. They had heard that this year's Brilliant Void meeting was abnormally tragic as compared to the previous ones. He's sealing the energy. Xiao Yi was more perceptive. He noticed what Ningyu was doing as soon as he jumped into the water-moon pool. He had also sealed energy before. To be precise, the energy sealed in his body was no less than Ningyu's. However, Xiao Yi was a little worried. Ningyu was a person who could create miracles. Chapter 2201. Plop. Thinking of this, Xiao Yi leaped into the water-moon pool like Ningyu. What is Xiao Yi doing? Why did he jump into the water-moon pool again? I wonder if Ningyu's actions aroused his fighting spirit and he wants to spar with Ningyu in the water-moon pool? Everyone exclaimed. After all, Xiao Ye's failure to reach the square platform left a bad impression in their hearts. In other words, they thought that Xiao Yi was not a match for Ningyu. The honor of being the top core disciple of the Water-Moon League should be given to Ningyu. In order to regain this honor, Xiao Yi might fight with Ningyu in the core of the Water-Moon pool. However, everyone was destined to be disappointed. After Xiao Yi entered the Water-Moon pool, he did not have any conflict with Ningyu. On the contrary, he was very far away from Ningyu. Chi-chi. Xiao Yi activated the technique in his body and activated the frenzied devouring mode. He is also devouring energy? Xiao Ye's crazy actions naturally attracted the attention of Ningyu. Ningyu thought that his speed of devouring energy was fast enough, but who would have thought that Xiao Yi was not slower than him? In a sense, Xiao Ye's speed of devouring energy was a little faster than his. Devour. Ningyu shook his head and temporarily got rid of Xiao Ye's interference. How much energy Xiao Yi could devour had nothing to do with him. Anyway, he would not have any conflict with Xiao Yi in a short period of time. Chi. Time passed by quickly. A strange phenomenon formed in the main hall. The remaining 7 core disciples, including Song Qing, all gave up cultivating. Their eyes kept wandering between Ningyu and Xiao Yi. One moment their eyes were on Ningyu, the next moment they were on Xiao Yi. No one said a word, forming a temporary tacit understanding. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. Xiao Ye's expression began to become serious, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Obviously, the energy within Xiao Ye's body was about to reach its limit. No matter how fast Xiao Ye could devour energy, his body could not contain too much energy. What kind of freak is he? Xiao Ye slowed down the speed at which he was devouring energy while paying attention to the situation on Ning Yu's side. When Xiao Ye saw Ning Yu calmly devouring the energy, his expression turned ugly. You should know. Before entering the water moon pool, his cultivation level was at the early stage essence immortal realm. After cultivating in the water moon pool for more than 10 days, his cultivation level had advanced from the early stage essence immortal realm to the mid-stage essence immortal realm. However, Ning Yu's cultivation level was still at the half-step essence immortal realm. He really couldn't understand. Why was it that the amount of energy that a mid-stage essence immortal like him could store in his body could not compare to that of a half-step essence immortal like Ning Yu? Pucci. He persevered for another 3 hours. Finally, Xiao Ye was unable to endure it any longer and was forced to leave the water moon pool. Xiao Ye could feel that he was very strong, extremely strong. At this moment, even if he encountered a peerless immortal, he would not be afraid. He could kill a peerless immortal if he unleashed all the energy in his body. Not bad. Inside the water moon pool, Ning Yu ignored Xiao Ye. He continued to devour energy. In a short 6 hours, the energy in his body had doubled. The increase in energy in his body meant that his overall strength had increased. Now, if he unleashed all the energy in his body, coupled with the 17 essence immortal laws, he could even easily kill an ordinary early-stage peerless immortal. Of course, this was not what Ning Yu wanted. His mind surged and the spell was activated to the extreme. Ning Yu sped up his energy, devouring once again. Gasp! Ning Yu's actions made all the core disciples, including Xiao Ye, gasp. Genius? Peerless genius? Genius? Freak? Everyone was already a little numb. None of the names seemed appropriate. Ning Yu challenged their imaginations step by step. From defeating Xiao Mao and He Hui at the beginning, to reaching the square platform before Xiao Ye. And now, to making Xiao Ye enter the water moon pool. All the signs pointed to Ning Yu being the real deal. Swoosh. Thinking of this, all the core disciples turned to look at Song Qing. Some of the core disciples even started to curry favor with Song Qing. There were 5 core disciples participating in the brilliant void meet. 1 was Xiao Ye, 1 was Ning Yu, and 1 was Song Qing. The remaining 2 could be chosen by all 6 of them. Song Qing and Ning Yu were on good terms. If they were to curry favor with Song Qing now, Song Qing would definitely not stand idly by when necessary. If Song Qing would not stand idly by, didn't that mean that Ning Yu would not stand idly by as well? Everyone had a lot of thoughts in their minds. All of a sudden, Xiao Ye was completely out of favor. In the water moon pool, Ning Yu was still devouring energy with all his might. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, Ning Yu was like a machine, maintaining the same speed and never slowing down. Boom! The 5th day passed. Ning Yu leaped up and abruptly left the water moon pool. The timing was just right. After staying in the water moon pool for 24 hours, Ning Yu had absorbed as much energy as he could. It was no exaggeration. Right now, Ning Yu was no different from a human-shaped bomb. The energy inside him was no weaker than a peerless immortal. Creak. Not long after Ning Yu left the water moon pool, the closed door slowly opened from the outside. There's still 1 day left. The Alliance head summons you to the selection hall. Jing Jiqiang appeared before everyone. Without beating around the bush, Jing Jiqiang went straight to the point. The purpose of this gathering is to choose the 5 strongest core disciples to represent the Water Moon Alliance in the Brilliant Void meet. With that, Jing Jiqiang turned and left. Seeing Jing Jiqiang's departure, the remaining core disciples, with the exception of Xiao Ye, all looked at Ning Yu. They all had the same idea. Let Ning Yu go first. Humph. Xiao Yi was very displeased by their betrayal. He snorted coldly and took the lead to walk outside. Ningyu rubbed his nose to show that he was innocent. He had only gone to absorb energy as usual and approached the square platform. He had no intention of offending Xiao Yi. However, he would deal with the situation as it came. He wouldn't take the initiative to offend Xiao Yi, but if Xiao Yi wanted to cause trouble for him, he wouldn't let him off easily. Rustle. Then, Ningyu moved and left. Behind Ningyu, Song Qing and the other 6 core disciples didn't dare tarry and hurried to catch up. The selection hall. All the disciples of the Watermoon Alliance knew that there would be a grand meeting in the selection hall today. In order to welcome the brilliant Void Meet tomorrow, the selection of the Watermoon Alliance would be held in the selection hall today. The purpose of this selection was to choose the 5 strongest disciples. Of course, the selection wasn't just for core disciples. All Watermoon Alliance disciples who met the age requirements could participate. Therefore, all the disciples of the Watermoon Alliance were gathered in the selection hall today. It was said that the Alliance head was going to empower the 5 chosen disciples. Chapter 2202. Russell. Under Jing Jichang's lead, Ningyu, Song Qing, and the rest arrived at the selection hall in no time. Swoosh. As soon as Ningyu and the rest entered the selection hall, many martial artists in the selection hall hurriedly looked over. In fact, some disciples with lower cultivation levels chose to retreat and make way for Ningyu and the rest. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. None of the core disciples of the Water-Moon Alliance were easy to deal with. Of course, in everyone's hearts, Ningyu was not one of them. After all, Ningyu had just become a core disciple not long ago, and they did not know how strong Ningyu was. Xiao Yi has advanced to the mid-stage essence immortal realm? At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Xiao Yi. Before entering the Water-Moon pool, Xiao Ye's cultivation level was at the early stage essence immortal realm. The aura that Xiao Yi displayed now was completely different from that of an early stage essence immortal realm. Obviously, Xiao Yi had advanced to the mid-stage essence immortal realm. Xiao Yi has to take one of the 5 spots. Other than Xiao Yi, Xiao Mao is also very strong. Song Qing is not weak either. Oh yes, where's Xiao Mao? Yeah, why don't I see Xiao Mao? Hearing this martial artist's words, the martial artists in the selection hall shifted their gazes and began to look for Xiao Mao. Ever since Ningyu became a core disciple, the number of core disciples of the Water-Moon Alliance had increased from 10 to 11. Currently, there were only 9 core disciples in the selection hall. Even if Xiao Mao was taken out, there was still one more left. He Hui is not here either. What's wrong with Xiao Mao and He Hui? How dare they not come to such an important selection? Could it be that they have already been selected? Swoosh. The martial artists in the hall had a slight change of expression. There were a total of 5 spots. Taking out Xiao Yi, Xiao Mao, and He Hui, there were only 2 spots left. Initially, they still had a chance when there were only 5 spots. But now it was completely impossible for them. Buzz. At this moment, the void above the selection hall suddenly split open, and a woman wearing a veil appeared in front of everyone. The leader of the Water-Moon Alliance, Water-Moon Fairy. A lotus rose from the water, with 3,000 strands of beautiful hair. At this moment, the Water-Moon Fairy was otherworldly and otherworldly, just like a fairy. Seeing the Water-Moon Fairy appear, all the martial artists in the hall shifted their gazes. They didn't think about the quota anymore. It was as if it was a pleasure to look at Shueiyue Fairy one more time. Not bad, I advanced to the mid-stage virtual immortal realm. Shueiyue Xianzi's gaze paused on Xiao Yi for a moment before shifting towards Ningyu. What? Shueiyue Fairy turned pale with fright when she saw it. Fortunately, Water-Moon Fairy was wearing a veil. Otherwise, her current expression would definitely shock everyone to the extreme. 17 Essence, Immortal Nomological Laws. Water Moon Fairy's expression was a little ugly. Before she left the Water Moon Pool, Ningyu had a total of 7 Essence, Immortal Nomological Laws. But now, Ningyu had 17 Essence, Immortal Nomological Laws. As expected, Ningyu devoured the 10 primordial immortal nomological laws on the square platform, which was the simulated lightning pool. Why is there so much energy in his body? Water Moon Fairy took a deep breath and tried hard to calm herself down. She probed Ningyu's body with her perception for a while, then looked a little puzzled. Generally speaking, the limit of energy that a half-step essence immortal could withstand was that of a half-step peerless immortal. However, the energy in Ningyu's body was comparable to that of an ordinary peerless immortal. Compared to Xiao Yi, the energy in Ningyu's body was several times more. Could he have devoured all the energy in the Water Moon Pool? Suddenly, Water Moon Fairy thought of a possibility. At the thought of this, Water Moon Fairy waved her right hand in the void, and the situation in the Water Moon Pool appeared in front of her. She looked. Water Moon Fairy sucked in a breath of cold air. It was just as she had guessed. The energy in the Water Moon Pool had been devoured by Ningyu and Xiao Yi. Although it was not completely devoured, there was only a little energy left in the Water Moon Pool. One had to know. In order to create the best cultivation environment for these core disciples, she had instructed Jing Jiqiang to prepare for 7 days. The Water Moon Pool that had been prepared for 7 days had been mostly devoured by Ningyu and Xiao Yi. How could Water Moon Fairy not be shocked? From the looks of it, either Xiao Yi or Ningyu could become the leader of the Water Moon League. Water Moon Fairy took a deep breath and threw away these messy thoughts in her mind. The Water Moon Pool was for core disciples to cultivate in. Not to mention that Xiao Yi and Ningyu had not completely devoured the energy inside. Even if they had, Water Moon Fairy would not have said anything. Because the more energy Ningyu and Xiao Yi devoured, the stronger they were. The brilliant void meet would be held tomorrow. With the 2 freaks, Ningyu and Xiao Yi, the Water Moon League would not have to worry about winning. Disciples below 3,000 years old and at the ancestral immortal realm can participate in the selection. Water Moon Fairy said loudly, "The rules are simple. Challenge a core disciple. As long as you can defeat a core disciple, you can eliminate him and become the new core disciple. From there, you can enter the next round of selection." Swoosh. Hearing Water Moon Fairy's words, all the martial artists in the hall were dumbfounded. Challenge a core disciple? Become the new core disciple? It had to be said. The conditions that Shueiwa Fairy had raised were challenging and extremely tempting. However, the success rate of challenging a core disciple was very low. Therefore, no one stepped forward. "I'll do it." 3 minutes later, a martial artist in gray clothes stepped forward and said, "I, Sun Xiao, challenge a core disciple, Hu Ji." Humph. Hearing that someone chose him, Hu Ji snorted coldly, "Sun Xiao, I know that you have advanced to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm. However, I can tell you clearly that you are still not my match. Whether I am your match or not, I will only know after I try," Sun Xiao said proudly. "Are you afraid of accepting my challenge?" What a joke! Hu Ji's lips curled as he stomped on the ground and rushed forward. "Since you have a death wish, I will fulfill your wish." As soon as the word "you" was said, Hu Ji arrived in front of Sun Xiao. He punched Sun Xiao's face with a violent Yuan Qi gale. Hu Ji's punch was powerful and heavy. If Sun Xiao was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he did not die. It could be seen. Hu Ji was truly enraged. After all, he was the first core disciple to be challenged. As the saying went, pick the weakest persimmon. If he couldn't defeat Sun Xiao in a domineering manner, then what awaited him would only be endless challenges. Hu Ji was not a fool. Therefore, he used his full strength in his first move. We will only know who will win after we spar. Chapter 2203. Chi. Sun Shao's fist emitted a terrifying wave of immortal chi. The power of Sun Shao's fist was no weaker than Hu Ji's. Damn it! Hu Ji cursed when he saw Sun Shao's fist. He hurriedly forced out his blood essence to increase the power of his first move. But unfortunately, Sun Shao's fist had already collided with Hu Ji's. Crack! The two fists collided. A crisp sound was heard. Then, Hu Ji was sent flying dozens of feet away. On the other hand, although Sun Shao vomited blood, he was still standing on the spot. In this exchange of blows, Sun Shao won by a narrow margin. Whoosh! Sun Shao's victory caused a huge uproar in the hall. Initially, they thought that the core disciples were all powerful and had been baptized by the water moon pool, so it would be difficult to win. But now, with Sun Shao as an example, they began to choose their opponent. In a short period of time, other than Xiao Yi, Song Qing and Ning Yu, the other core disciples found their opponent. It was understandable that they did not challenge Xiao Yi or Song Qing, because Xiao Yi was a mid-stage essence immortal and Song Qing had advanced to a half-step essence immortal. But they did not challenge Ning Yu. Ning Yu was a little confused. It didn't make sense. He had suppressed his aura to the late-stage ancestral immortal. There was no reason that no one would challenge him. I said that after we come out of the water moon pool, I will spar with you again. At this moment, Xiao Yi moved and came in front of Ning Yu. Swoosh! Hearing Xiao Ye's words, Ning Yu finally understood. No wonder no one came to challenge him. Given Xiao Ye's strength, no one would dare to challenge him if he revealed a bit of information. There is no need for us to fight. Ning Yu glanced at Xiao Yi and said, "The brilliant void meet will begin in a day. At that time, you and I will be representing the Water Moon Alliance to participate in the brilliant void meet. I don't want to hurt anyone because of today's spar." "You don't dare." Xiao Ye's expression changed and he said in a deep voice, "If you don't dare, you can say it. I won't blame you." At this point, Xiao Yi paused for a moment before continuing. "However, you have to give up on the competition for the leader of the Water Moon Alliance." Ning Yu frowned slightly. He was a little confused. Give up the fight for the Alliance leader's position? Wasn't the leader of the Water Moon Alliance the Water Moon Fairy who was floating in midair? Let him and Water Moon Fairy fight for the position of Water Moon Alliance leader? Sorry, he wasn't that stupid. Don't play dumb with me. Xiao Yi said coldly. I need you to personally admit that you will not snatch the position of Water Moon Alliance's Alliance Master. I have no idea what you're talking about. Ning Yu's face darkened. Even a clay figurine would have some anger, let alone him. Xiao Yi had provoked him time and time again, causing him to be gradually angered. From Ning Yu's point of view, the reason why Xiao Yi had made things difficult for him in front of so many people was because of Xiao Mao. He had defeated Xiao Mao in the main hall, forcing Xiao Mao to lose the opportunity to cultivate in the Water Moon pool. But what did that have to do with him? If Xiao Mao hadn't taken the initiative to provoke him, would he have caused trouble for Xiao Mao? Humph! Xiao Yi coldly snorted. He did not care about what Ning Yu was thinking and quickly rushed out. Take my punch! As Xiao Yi rushed out, he shouted, World Exterminating Fist! Boom! Inside the selection hall, when everyone saw Xiao Yi attack, they all chose to stop. Xiao Yi actually used the World Exterminating Fist. What kind of freak is Ning Yu? Why did he force Xiao Yi to use the World Exterminating Fist? Freak? In my opinion, Ning Yu offended Xiao Yi. Yes, it must be Ning Yu who offended Xiao Yi, so Xiao Yi wanted to teach him a lesson. Although these people's explanations were reasonable. However, was there a need to use the World Exterminating Fist to teach Ning Yu a lesson? One had to know. When Xiao Yi was at the early stage Primordial Immortal, he had once fought with a peak stage Primordial Immortal Skyfiend. At that time, Xiao Yi used the World Exterminating Fist and killed that peak stage Primordial Immortal Skyfiend with one punch. Now that Xiao Yi used the world-exterminating fist, it was obvious that it was not to teach Ning Yu a lesson. Be careful. Seeing Xiao Yi attack, Song Qing hurriedly warned. Song Qing admitted that Ning Yu was very strong. However, in Song Qing's opinion, no matter how strong Ning Yu was, it would be difficult for him to withstand Xiao Ye's world-exterminating fist. How annoying! Looking at Xiao Yi, who was constantly rushing towards him, Ning Yu's expression became extremely ugly. He decided to teach Xiao Yi a lesson. The energy in his body surged crazily and wrapped around his fist. In the next moment, Ning Yu clenched his right fist and punched out. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Ning Yu and Xiao Yi took a few steps back at the same time. In this attack, both sides were evenly matched. Damn it! Although they were evenly matched, Xiao Yi could not help but curse in his heart. In order to defeat Ning Yu, Xiao Yi used 90% of his strength. He even used the energy he absorbed from the water moon pool. Unexpectedly, he still could not defeat Ning Yu. Take another punch from me. Gritting his teeth, Xiao Yi attacked again. This time, Xiao Yi did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to defeat Ning Yu. For Xiao Yi, whether he could defeat Ning Yu or not meant whether he could snatch the position of the leader of the Water Moon League. In this punch, he sacrificed all the energy in his body. He did not hesitate to burn his blood essence and life force. In midair. When Shueihua Fairy saw Xiao Yi making such a big move, she opened her mouth and wanted to stop him, but in the end, she did not say anything. Xiao Ye's current state was obviously that of a madman. If she rashly stopped him, it was very likely that it would backfire. Therefore, Shueihua Fairy did not make a move. Instead, she was highly focused. As long as either Xiao Yi or Ning Yu was defeated, she would immediately save them. After all, whether it was Ning Yu or Xiao Yi, they were both core disciples of the Water Moon League. They would represent the Water Moon League to participate in the brilliant Void Meet. Any death or injury would be a great loss to the Water Moon League. There's no end to this. Ning Yu took a step forward and used all 17 Essence Immortal Laws in his body. Moreover, Ning Yu also used the bloodline of the God of War body. No matter what, Xiao Yi was a mid-stage Essence Immortal. It was reasonable to fight him with respect. Chi. 17 Essence Immortal Nomological Laws appeared in front of Ning Yu and made a sizzling sound. So many Essence Immortal Laws? Ning Yu actually has 17 Essence Immortal Laws. Could it be that Ning Yu's cultivation level is at the peak of the Essence Immortal realm? You're all wrong. Ning Yu is not at the peak of the Essence Immortal realm. He's not even an Essence Immortal. He's a half-step Essence Immortal. Whoosh! The last martial artist's words caused everyone to be shocked. Half-step Essence Immortal cultivation level and 17 Essence Immortal Laws. Freak? Genius? Genius? Reincarnation of an expert? All sorts of speculations appeared. Ning Yu is angry. Among the core disciples, Song Qing had a solemn expression. After interacting with Ning Yu for so long, Song Qing basically understood Ning Yu's behavior. Once Ning Yu used the Essence Immortal Laws and the bloodline of the God of War body, it meant that Ning Yu was completely enraged. Next. Chapter 2204. Boom. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Ning Yu's fist collided with Xiao Ye's. Bang. The two collided. What everyone expected did not happen. On the contrary, after Ning Yu and Xiao Ye's fists collided, they did not separate immediately. Instead, they competed with each other's strength. Xiao Yi had not hesitated to burn his blood essence and life force for this punch. It was extremely powerful. Even though Ning Yu had used 17 Essence Immortal Nomological Laws and the bloodline of the War God, he could not defeat Xiao Yi easily. It was not that Ning Yu could not defeat Xiao Yi. As long as he used the sealed energy in his body, defeating Xiao Yi would be a piece of cake. Ningyu felt that using the sealed energy in his body to defeat Xiao Yi was not worth it. After all, he could rely on the sealed energy in his body to fight peerless immortals. Once he lost the energy, his strength would drop to the level of a half-step peerless immortal. Ningyu felt that it was not worth it to expend so much energy to defeat Xiao Yi as soon as possible. They're evenly matched. What do you mean by evenly matched? In my opinion, Ningyu and Xiao Yi are stronger. Why do you say that? A warrior asked doubtfully. Are you stupid? Ningyu used 17 essence immortal nomological laws, but Xiao Yi did not even use one, the warrior from earlier explained. Think about it, if Xiao Yi uses his essence immortal laws, how is Ningyu going to block it? At first glance, what you said seems to make sense. Everyone frowned, feeling that the warrior's words were not without reason. However, only Song Qing knew. Even if Xiao Yi used his essence immortal laws, he would definitely not be a match for Ningyu. Because Ningyu had not used his full strength. Song Qing was not the only one who thought so. All the core disciples thought so too. The scene of Ningyu and Xiao Yi devouring each other's energy in the watermoon pool was still fresh in their minds. Ningyu had not used the energy in his body since the beginning of the fight. Therefore, it was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. Seeing that he was unable to defeat Ningyu, Xiao Yi raised his head and shouted. Then, he burned his life force once more. Don't waste your energy. You are no match for me. Seeing Xiao Yi burning his life force, Ningyu shook his head and exerted a little more strength in his fist. Gotcha! In an instant, Xiao Ye's fist was broken, and his body was sent flying. Bang! Xiao Yi only managed to stabilize his body after crashing into the wall behind him. Poochie! He spat out a mouthful of blood. The light in Xiao Ye's eyes dimmed. Even though he was extremely unwilling, Xiao Yi knew that he was no match for Ningyu. The other core disciples all knew that Ningyu had a terrifying energy within his body, so how could he not know? Go and rest first. At this moment, Water Moon Fairy waved her sleeves and a gentle wind carried Xiao Yi away from the selection hall. Many cultivators watched as Xiao Yi left, their expressions filled with shock. Because they knew very well. Xiao Ye's departure meant that Ningyu had become Water Moon Alliance's number 1 core disciple. The selection continues. Xiao Ye's departure didn't have much of an impact. Water Moon Fairy said indifferently, Jing Jiqiang will host the next selection. Swoosh. As she spoke, Water Moon Fairy tore open the void and went in. Obviously, Water Moon Fairy went to talk to Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi was Water Moon Alliance's core disciple, a genius that Water Moon Fairy had nurtured for many years. The Brilliant Void Conference was about to begin. If Xiao Yi was affected too much, it would be a great loss to Water Moon Alliance. Swoosh. After Water Moon Fairy left, the selection suddenly became dull and boring. The passion disappeared without a trace. In just a few hours, the selection was completely over. Ningyu, Song Qing, Sun Xiao, Fei Yuan, Wang Lan. The 5 of them would represent Water Moon Alliance in the Brilliant Void Conference. First of all, congratulations. Tomorrow, you will represent Water Moon Alliance in the Brilliant Void Conference. Jing Jiqiang looked around at Ningyu and the rest and said in a deep voice, but before that, I need to remind you of a few things. Ningyu and the rest listened attentively. First, Jing Jiqiang stretched out a finger and said, the Brilliant Void Conference this time is of great importance, so you need to do everything possible to win. What do you mean by do everything possible? Sun Xiao asked. That's a good question. Jing Jiqiang glanced at Sun Xiao and explained, by doing everything possible, I mean doing everything possible, including killing the other party's members. Gasp. Sun Xiao gasped when he heard Jing Jiqiang's words. Kill the other party's members? One had to know that in the previous Brilliant Void meet, although there was also a spar segment, everyone sparred peacefully, and there were very few casualties. However, Zheng Jiqiang seemed to be saying that the goal of this brilliant void conference was to kill the other party. I'll say the ugly words first. Zheng Jiqiang seemed to have seen through Sun Shao's doubts and said in a deep voice, "When the time comes, if you don't kill the other party will definitely kill you. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Alright, the serious matters are over. What you need to do next is to advance to the essence immortal realm before tomorrow." Zheng Jiqiang waved his hand and said, "The 5 of you follow me." Russell, Ningyu, Song Qing, and the rest followed closely behind Zheng Jiqiang. Soon, Zheng Jiqiang stopped in front of a secret chamber. "Sun Shao, cultivate in this secret chamber." Zheng Jiqiang pointed at the secret chamber and said, "Come out on time tomorrow morning." Next, Zheng Jiqiang brought Song Qing, Fei Yuan, and Wang Lan to a secret chamber and asked them to cultivate. Ningyu did not ask. That was because Ningyu knew that Zheng Jiqiang would definitely take the initiative to tell them without him asking. As expected, after making arrangements for Sun Shao and the rest, Zheng Jiqiang turned to look at Ningyu and said, "Your cultivation level is half-step essence immortal, and it will be difficult for you to break through to the essence immortal realm in a short period of time. Therefore, the Alliance Master has decided to give you a big gift." "What gift?" Ningyu was a little curious. In his opinion, the simulated lightning pool in the water moon pool was the best gift. There were 10 essence immortal nomological laws inside, which increased his strength by several times. "The Alliance Master has decided to let you use her fan." Zheng Jiqiang made a grabbing motion with his right hand. The void cracked and a light blue fan appeared in front of Ningyu. This fan, Ningyu's pupils constricted when he saw the fan in front of him. He was a little shocked. Judging from the quality of the fan, it should not be an ancestral artifact or an ingot. It was a Dharma treasure of the peerless immortal level. This fan is called the Water Moon Fan. The Alliance Master has been carrying it with her ever since the Water Moon Alliance was established. Zheng Jiqiang pointed at the blue fan and explained, "Before she left just now, she personally told you to accept this fan no matter what. I'd like to ask, does it mean that I'll become the next leader of the Water Moon Alliance if I accept this fan?" Chapter 2205. That's right. Zheng Jiqiang nodded and said, "After the brilliant void meet tomorrow, she will resign from the position of the Chief of the Water Moon Alliance regardless of whether she can win the position. Xiao Yi was supposed to take over as the second Chief of the Water Moon Alliance. Unfortunately, Xiao Yi is indifferent to fame and fortune and doesn't want the position. When Ningyu and Xiao Yi were sparring just now, Zheng Jiqiang didn't come in. Hence, he didn't know much about Xiao Ye's ugly side. To be honest, Zheng Jiqiang was also very puzzled as to why Xiao Yi wasn't among the 5 names. However, Zheng Jiqiang believed in Shueiyue Fairy's decision, so he didn't ask. "Alright, I can't resist this temptation." Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and reached out with his right hand to grab the Water Moon Fan in front of him. If not for the temptation of the Water Moon Fan, Ningyu really wouldn't agree to be the Chief of the Water Moon Alliance. After all, his main task now was to cultivate and not participate in the power struggle. But, in an instant, Ningyu grabbed the Water Moon Fan. Boom! As soon as he held the Water Moon Fan, Ningyu felt a terrifying energy drilling into his body. "Stop!" Ningyu's expression changed drastically. The energy in his body had reached its limit. If more energy entered his body now, it was very likely that his body would explode. Hence, Ningyu hurriedly used a spell to stop the violent energy from entering his body. However, no matter how hard Ningyu tried, he couldn't stop the energy from drilling into his body. Damn it! At this critical moment, Ningyu cursed and had no choice but to use the essence immortal laws. However, it was a pity. Even though Ningyu used the essence immortal laws, he still couldn't stop the energy from entering his body. Beside him, Jing Jiqiang looked at Ning Yu's anxious expression and didn't help him. In fact, Jing Jiqiang crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ning Yu with interest. No, there must be something wrong. Seeing Jing Jiqiang's expression, Ning Yu instantly understood. Water Moon Fairy would not make things difficult for him for no reason. Since Water Moon Fairy had given him the Water Moon Fan, there must be a deeper meaning behind it. Ning Yu took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. In the face of danger, the more nervous you are, the more likely you will fall into a vicious circle. Sitting cross-legged, Ning Yu operated his mental cultivation method and began to guide the Water Moon Fan's energy into his body. Very good. Seeing Ning Yu's calm appearance, Jing Jiqiang could not help but nod his head and praise him. Whoever could subdue the Water Moon Fan would be the next leader of the Water Moon Alliance. Water Moon Fairy had personally instructed him not to help Ning Yu unless it was absolutely necessary. Therefore, even when he saw how anxious Ning Yu was, Jing Jiqiang still did not step forward to help. Buzz. Although he had calmed down, for Ning Yu, the condition of his body had not improved at all. Moreover, as the energy continued to flow into his body began to swell. As long as his body expanded to a certain limit, what awaited him would be self-destruction. Something must have gone wrong. Ning Yu took a deep breath and his eyes darted around rapidly, thinking of a solution. Jing Jiqiang's gaze was fixed on Ning Yu. Once Ning Yu's body expanded to a critical point, he would help Ning Yu. And if he helped, it would mean that Ning Yu would lose the position of the alliance leader and the opportunity to subdue the Water Moon Fan. Drip, drip. Time continued to pass. Ning Yu's body was also constantly expanding. Right. A few minutes later, seeing that Ning Yu's body was about to expand to its limit, Ning Yu suddenly slapped his head and shouted, "Compress!" Ning Yu shouted in a low voice. His soul power surged and began to compress the energy in his body with the 17 essence immortal laws. Ning Yu divided the energy in his body into 17 parts. Each of the 17 essence immortal laws in his body was responsible for a portion of the energy. Oh! Jing Jiqiang was already prepared to make a move. Who would have thought that Ning Yu would stabilize again? Jing Jiqiang did not expect such a situation to occur. One had to know, previously, there were people who tried to subdue the Water Moon Fan, but without exception, everyone ended up in failure. Even Jing Jiqiang himself had tried to subdue the Water Moon Fan. Unfortunately, even he didn't succeed. That was why Jing Jiqiang was shocked when he saw Ning Yu gradually stabilize. Let's wait and see. Jing Jiqiang released his palm and thought to himself. As long as Ning Yu's life was not in danger, he could not stop Ning Yu. He was very clear about that. If it was because of him that Ning Yu failed to subdue the Water Moon Fan, and Water Moon Fairy knew about it, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Chi. Ning Yu did not know what Jing Jiqiang was thinking. For Ning Yu, he had found the right method. Each of the 17 essence immortal laws worked with his soul power to compress the energy. In just a few hours, Ning Yu had completely compressed the energy in his body. In other words, there were a total of 17 vigorous energies in Ning Yu's body now. Every wisp of energy could easily defeat a half-step peerless immortal. Of course, if Ning Yu wanted to fight a peerless immortal, he needed to use all 17 of them at the same time. Otherwise, he could only run or suffer in the face of a peerless immortal's attack. Buzz. At that moment, the Water Moon Fan went crazy again. Endless energy entered Ning Yu's body like crazy. Good. This time, Ning Yu was not angry. Instead, he was ecstatic. The more energy he had, the better it was for him. Compress. Ning Yu controlled the 17 essence immortal laws and began the process of compression again. In the following period of time, Jing Jiqiang was highly focused, keeping an eye on Ning Yu, afraid that something would happen to Ning Yu. Ning Yu, on the other hand, continued to compress the energy. As for the water moon fan, it was like an inexhaustible source of energy, constantly sending energy into Ning Yu's body. Drip. Time passed by quickly. Whoosh. When the next morning arrived, Ning Yu suddenly opened his eyes and slowly spat out a mouthful of turbid air. After a night of compression, each of the 17 strands of energy in Ning Yu's body could easily kill an early-stage peerless immortal cultivator on their own. The water moon fan is really something, Ning Yu thought to himself as he toyed with the fan that had been sucked dry. Now Ning Yu finally understood the fan's function. The water moon fan was no ordinary peerless immortal treasure, but an immortal meridian energy treasure. An immortal meridian energy treasure could absorb energy from an immortal meridian and convert it into pure energy that could be freely consumed by cultivators. Chapter 2206. The energy in a supreme immortal meridian was terrifying. Even several peerless immortals might not be able to absorb it all in a short amount of time. You controlled the water moon fan? Jing Jiqiang's mouth fell open in disbelief when he saw Ning Yu's actions. To be honest, Jing Jiqiang had thought that Ning Yu could control the water moon fan, but he hadn't expected Ning Yu to be able to devour all of the fan's energy. The fan's energy was enough to burst an early-stage peerless immortal's body. The fact that Ning Yu could absorb all of the fan's energy meant that his body was as strong as a peerless immortal's. I was just lucky. Ning Yu nodded. The brilliant void meet is about to begin. Come with me. Since Ning Yu didn't want to talk about it, Jing Jiqiang wouldn't press the matter. The brilliant void meet was about to begin today. His first task was to bring the 5 core disciples to the venue, Star Plaza. As the Brilliant Void Alliance's event, the Brilliant Void Meet was very influential. Early in the morning, the Heavenly Star Plaza was already packed with a sea of people. The Heavenly Star Plaza today was not quite the same as usual. There were 3 huge platforms in the center. Clearly, these 3 high platforms were dueling arenas. Behind the dueling ring, there was a pavilion. Apart from a few important positions, the higher-ups of the Brilliant Void Alliance were all in the pavilion. The minimum requirement to enter the pavilion was to be a peak virtual immortal. There were a total of 37 seats in the pavilion. Apart from the empty seat at the front, the remaining 36 seats were all occupied. Water Moon Fairy of the Water Moon Alliance, Crazed God of the Gods Alliance, and Godslayer Son of the God-Slaying Alliance. The leaders of the 3 alliances were seated below the empty seat. It was obvious from their seats that they were of high status, only 1 level lower than the Brilliant Void Alliance's leader. Godslayer Son, I heard that Su Ming of the God-Slaying Alliance has reached mid-stage virtual immortal and killed 2 peak virtual immortal skyfiends a day ago. Crazed God was the first to speak. He looked at Godslayer Son of the God-Slaying Alliance and said, I'm afraid he'll come out on top in the Brilliant Void Meet. Your God's Alliance isn't bad either. Killing God's Son smiled and said, He Jiang is a late-stage virtual immortal. Once he makes a move, Su Ming won't stand a chance. Crazed God perfected immortal and God-killing Son refused to give in to each other. After all, the Brilliant Void meeting this time was very important. Whichever side won would mean that their alliance master would become the overall alliance master. The temptation was so great that the relationship between Crazed God True Immortal and God-Slaying Son was a little tense. Voila! At this moment, a group of 6 cultivators slowly appeared at the entrance of the Heavenly Star Plaza. When they appeared, the people in the square parted to make a path for them. Jing Jiqiang led the way, followed closely by Ning Yu, Song Qing, Sun Xiao, Wang Lan, and Fei Yuan. Whoosh! Just as Ning Yu and the others arrived, 6 other martial artists also rushed over from the other side. Su Ming. Among these 6 people, Ning Yu knew one of them. Kill the Gods Alliance's Su Ming. Whoosh! Meanwhile, in another direction, 6 martial artists appeared. Ning Yu's gaze quickly shifted from Su Ming. Ningyu realized that the combat power of these 6 people was obviously much stronger than that of the God-slaying alliance. In terms of cultivation level, among the God-slaying alliance, Su Ming was the strongest, a mid-stage virtual immortal. And among these 6 people, the one with the highest cultivation level was a terrifying late-stage virtual immortal. He's He Jiang from the Gods Alliance. He followed Ningyu's gaze. Then, Song Qing said, "He's the strongest competitor in this brilliant void meeting." Ningyu nodded in agreement. He Jiang, who was a late-stage virtual immortal, was much stronger than Xiao Yi. If he had not devoured the energy in the water-moon fan, Ningyu might have been afraid of He Jiang. But now, he did not have any feelings for He Jiang. Humph! As if noticing that Ningyu was looking at him with an indifferent expression, He Jiang let out a cold snort from his nose. "Who is he?" He Jiang turned and asked. "He's a core disciple of the Water-Moon Alliance, Ningyu. He just joined the alliance a month ago." The leader of the Gods Alliance, Elder Wu Changren, explained, "Rumor has it that his strength is on par with Su Ming's. Su Ming is just sloppy. The God-slaying alliance is likely to be the first to be eliminated in this brilliant void meeting." He Jiang said plainly, "The Water-Moon Alliance, on the other hand, surprised me. Xiao Yi didn't come, but they let a half-step virtual immortal become their leader." He Jiang saw it clearly. Among the core disciples of the Water-Moon Alliance, Ningyu was ranked first, and Song Qing was second. He Jiang had always wanted to spar with Xiao Yi, but it seemed like he was going to be disappointed. "Don't be careless," Wu Changren reminded. "Ningyu being able to become the leader of the Water-Moon Union means that he has obtained the Water-Moon Fairy's recognition. With the Water-Moon Fairy's judgment of people, she will definitely not be wrong." Swoosh! When Wu Changren mentioned the Water-Moon Fairy, He Jiang's expression turned serious. He Jiang had always been brooding over the Water-Moon Fairy, because the Water-Moon Fairy had evaluated him. 4 words. Sloppy and ordinary. He originally wanted to join the Water-Moon Alliance, but because of the evaluation of the Water-Moon Fairy, he turned around and joined the Gods Alliance. His cultivation rose steadily and reached the late-stage virtual immortal realm. He was a level higher than Xiao Yi, whom the Water-Moon Fairy thought highly of. "Let's go and take a look." He Jiang took a deep breath and walked toward Ningyu. "Interesting. Not far away." Seeing He Jiang's action, Su Ming's lips curled up and he followed. Rustle. Not long after, He Jiang came to stand in front of Ningyu. "You're Ningyu." He Jiang raised his eyebrows and looked at Ningyu condescendingly. "I have a few questions to ask you. As long as you answer them honestly, I can show mercy and spare your life." Swoosh! He Jiang's words immediately drew the gazes of the surrounding people to his side. To be precise, everyone shifted their gaze to Ningyu, because everyone wanted to see how capable Ningyu, who had replaced Xiao Yi as the chief core disciple of the Water-Moon Alliance, was. Facing He Jiang's provocation, Ningyu continued to move forward as if he did not hear it. However, at this moment, He Jiang was already standing in front of Ningyu, blocking Ningyu's path. Helpless, Ningyu could only choose to stop. A good dog doesn't block the way. Ningyu's expression was indifferent. "It's not a good dog to block the way. What did you say?" He Jiang's pupils were weak and he was on the verge of exploding. Ningyu had the guts to call him a dog? He Jiang secretly made up his mind. Chapter 2207. A dog will always be a dog, always barking. Ningyu shrugged and said faintly, "I've met many dogs, but this is the first time I've seen a deaf dog like you." Su Ming couldn't help but laugh when he heard Ningyu's mockery. Halfway through his laughter, Su Ming stopped abruptly. He recalled what happened at the Shuiyu restaurant a month ago. Back then, Ningyu had affectionately called him a dog. Crack, crack, crack. When had He Jiang ever been bullied like that? He clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. Very well, you've successfully angered me. He Jiang stared coldly at Ningyu. Kneel and apologize to me, or I'll show you why flowers are so red. Noisy. Ningyu glanced at He Jiang and said, If we weren't here, I would have killed you already. Ningyu was no fool. Ever since he and He Jiang clashed, everyone's attention in the loft had been drawn to them. Several auras moved around his body unscrupulously. 2 of them were filled with deep hostility. As expected, the 2 auras belonged to the Alliance Masters of the Gods Alliance and the God-Killing Alliance. If he killed He Jiang now, it would be troublesome. The Water-Moon Alliance might even lose its right to participate in the Brilliant Void Conference. After all, the Water-Moon Fairy had given Ningyu a lot of benefits. Ningyu didn't want to ruin the Brilliant Void Conference. Arrogant. He Jiang stomped his feet and appeared before Ningyu in an instant. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at Ningyu's face with a violent gust of immortal energy. Since Ningyu had the upper hand in terms of words, He Jiang had to get back at him in terms of martial arts. He Jiang and Ningyu are fighting. I wonder who'll win. Isn't that obvious? It must be He Jiang. His cultivation level has already reached the late-stage primordial immortal stage. I also guessed it was He Jiang. Rumor has it that he once killed an early peerless immortal. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard the last warrior's words. Killed an early-stage peerless immortal? This achievement alone had already caused a huge uproar. Peerless immortals were a scarce resource even in the Kungsu Alliance. Of the 36 cultivators in the pavilion, the weakest was a peak virtual immortal, but only a handful were peerless immortals. Most genius cultivators could only raise their cultivation to half-step peerless immortal in their entire lives, unable to cross that threshold. Be careful, Song Qing hurriedly reminded He Jiang when he saw He Jiang make a move. Song Qing feared He Jiang from the bottom of his heart. He had fought He Jiang before, but it was a pity. At that time, He Jiang had only used 30% of his strength and easily defeated him. After such a long time, He Jiang's strength must have increased. If Ningyu insisted on clashing with He Jiang, it was hard to tell who would win. How troublesome. Facing He Jiang, who was charging at him, Ningyu discreetly used a wisp of energy in his body. Every time he used 17 wisps of energy, Ningyu's heart bled. However, He Jiang had already lost his mind. His first move was so powerful that even a peerless immortal might not be able to withstand it. Therefore, Ningyu had to use his energy. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing if he lost to He Jiang? Inside the pavilion, Crazed God chuckled. Goddess Shueiwe, let's not get involved in the sparring between the younger generation. That's right, I'm looking forward to the sparring between Ningyu and He Jiang. God-slaying nodded. When He Jiang and Ningyu are done, I'll have Su Ming try. Swoosh. Goddess Shueiwe didn't show it, but she was on the verge of exploding. Crazed God and God-slaying were ganging up on her, which infuriated her. Since it's a sparring match, why don't we add some stakes? Furious, Goddess Shueiwe seemed to have lost her mind. There are 3 outcomes. First, Ningyu wins. Second, he loses. Third, it's a draw. You can choose one of the 3 outcomes. If you win, I'll give you a peerless immortal treasure. As she spoke, Water Moon Fairy took out a flying sword from her bosom. It was silvery white in color, with 3 golden characters carved on its hilt. Lifeless sword. It was called the Lifeless Sword. Are you serious? Crazed God and God-slaying paled. The Lifeless Sword was a supreme treasure. If they could get their hands on it, their overall strength would increase by 10%. 10% was not to be underestimated. In a fight between the strong, victory or defeat was decided in an instant. Every time one's strength increased, one's chances of winning against an enemy would increase. Of course, Goddess Shueyiwa nodded, then asked in return, "But what if you lose? We'll give you a peerless immortal treasure as well." Crazed god and god-slaying son looked at each other, seeing the fervor in each other's eyes. In their eyes, the lifeless sword was already theirs. What they needed to worry about now was how to split the sword. After all, there was only one flying sword, while they had two. "Since you're so interested, I'll be the judge for you." Just then, an ethereal voice rang in Crazed God True Immortal and the others' ears. Hearing this, Crazed God and the others paled. The leader of the Kungsu Alliance. The speaker was none other than the leader of the Kungsu Alliance. It's obvious that Ningyu will lose to He Jiang. With the leader as the judge, Crazed God wasn't afraid that Goddess Shueyiwa would go back on her word. "I agree with Crazed God. Ningyu will lose without a doubt," God-slaying son echoed. Both of them had a very high opinion of He Jiang. Although He Jiang was only an early-stage virtual immortal, his overall strength should be enough to kill a peerless immortal. But what about Ningyu? How strong could a half-step virtual immortal be? No matter how strong he was, he couldn't kill a peerless immortal, could he? Even the leader of the Kungsu Alliance, known as the #1 genius, couldn't fight a peerless immortal when he was a half-step virtual immortal. "There's a way out for you, but you're barging into hell instead." When He Jiang saw that Ningyu advanced instead of retreating and actually wanted to exchange blows with him, He Jiang was instantly infuriated. He wanted to teach Ningyu a lesson and let Ningyu know that there was always someone better out there. Whoosh! To defeat Ningyu in one move, He Jiang increased the power of this move again. He'd used 50% of his strength before, but now he'd increased it to 70%. Not enough. With a cold expression, He Jiang increased his power again. In a mere second, He Jiang increased the power of his move from 50% to 100%. "Let's see how you block it." Chapter 2208. Crack. The two forces collided. An extremely crisp sound rang out. Soon after, He Jiang of the Gods Alliance was sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. He Jiang spat out a mouthful of blood and his late primordial immortal aura instantly dropped to the early primordial immortal stage. Moreover, it continued to drop. Bang! 3 seconds later, He Jiang's aura had dropped from the early primordial immortal stage to the early ancestral immortal stage. On the other hand, Ningyu. He stood firmly on the spot. Shaking his slightly painful fist, Ningyu said faintly, "Since you want to kneel, I will fulfill your wish." As soon as he said the word "you," a terrifying aura exuded from Ningyu's body and pressed down on He Jiang crazily. Crack! Under the pressure of Ningyu's aura, He Jiang's knees made cracking sounds and he was about to kneel down. Swoosh! Swoosh! Seeing that He Jiang was about to kneel, the 4 core disciples of the Gods Alliance and even the team leader, old Wu Changren, quickly stopped him. After all, He Jiang was the chief core disciple of the Gods Alliance. If he knelt here, he would not only lose his face, but also the face of the entire Gods Alliance. Therefore, no matter what, Wu Changren and the others could not let He Jiang kneel. Humph! Seeing that Wu Changren and the others had made a move, Ningyu snorted and said in a deep voice, "I said to make him kneel, and I will make him kneel. No one can stop me." Rumble! With a cold snort, Ningyu's aura soared again. Swoosh! 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 In an instant, 5 terrifying auras were released, attacking Wu Changren and the others respectively. What is Ningyu trying to do? Don't tell me he's lost his mind? You actually want to fight 1 against 5, 4 core disciples of the Gods Alliance and an elder leading the team. Wrong. A rational martial artist analyzed. Ningyu is not fighting against 5, but against 6. You can't forget He Jiang, right? This is too much. Wu Changren was so angry that his nose was crooked. He helped He Jiang because he didn't want He Jiang to kneel down. However, Ningyu was unforgiving and actually used his aura to oppress him, which made him very angry. The enraged Wu Changren decided to teach Ningyu a lesson. "You forced me to do this." With a cold shout, Wu Changren gave up on protecting He Jiang and charged at Ningyu. "Be careful." Seeing Wu Changren make a move, Song Qing and Jing Jiqiang hurriedly warned him. Although Wu Changren was only a late-stage primordial immortal, he had many trump cards. Rumor had it that Wu Changren had once killed a peerless immortal. "Stop." However, before Wu Changren arrived in front of Ningyu, a cold and gloomy voice resounded in the Heavenly Star Plaza. "Aren't you ashamed?" Boom! Hearing this voice, Wu Changren hurriedly stopped. The martial artist who spoke was none other than the Alliance Master of the Gods Union, true monarch Kuang Shin. If someone else had spoken up to stop Wu Changren, he would have had to think twice. However, Wu Changren had no choice but to obey true monarch Kuang Shin's words. Swoosh! Ningyu was not stupid. Since the Alliance Master of the Gods Union had spoken, he naturally would not continue to pester him. With a thought, several terrifying auras retracted back into his body. Whoosh! Feeling Ningyu withdraw his aura, the four core disciples of the Gods Union all heaved a sigh of relief. The pressure that Ningyu had given them was too great. They could have predicted it. If true monarch Kuang Shin had not stopped him, all four of them would have knelt down today. A peerless immortal artifact. Inside the pavilion, Aqua Moon Fairy stretched out her right hand and said to true monarch Kuang Shin and son of Godslaying, one each, "Don't try to go back on your word." How could we go back on our word? Both true monarch Kuang Shin and son of Godslaying snorted at the same time, then each took out a flying sword and threw it to Aqua Moon Fairy. Although they looked calm, that was not the case. Their hearts were bleeding. Even they did not have many peerless immortal artifacts. They would not be willing to hand them over to Aqua Moon Fairy. Many thanks. Catching the two peerless immortal flying swords, Aqua Moon Fairy removed the seals on them and tossed them to Ningyu on Skystar Plaza with a flick of her wrist. Skystar Plaza. Ningyu was a little dazed. He had only defeated He Jiang. Why would Aqua Moon Fairy give him two peerless immortal flying swords? However, Aqua Moon Fairy's next words cleared up Ningyu's confusion. These two flying swords belong to true monarch Kuang Shin and son of Godslaying. They lost the bet because of you, so you deserve these two flying swords. Realization finally dawned on Ningyu after Aqua Moon Fairy's explanation. True monarch Kuang Shin and son of Godslaying didn't think he would win, so they made the bet with Aqua Moon Fairy. Shaking his head, Ningyu threw the two peerless immortal flying swords into the Red Demon sword. Ningyu had only brought the Red Demon to Skystar Plaza for the brilliant Void meet. The Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, and the others continued cultivating at the Water Moon Alliance. Recently, the Red Demon had been complaining that Ningyu didn't find any artifacts or energy for him. With two peerless immortal flying swords, the Red Demon might be able to break through to the essence immortal level. What the F***CK? Inside the Red Demon sword, the Red Fiend immediately cursed. Two peerless immortal flying swords? The Red Demon would never have thought of this before. Ningyu, did you rob the brilliant Void Alliance headquarters? The Red Demon couldn't help but ask. To be honest, the Red Demon was really afraid that Ningyu would do something stupid. After all, peerless immortal artifacts were very precious. Every one of them could cause a huge uproar. Cut the crap and hurry up with the devouring. Tell me, how long will it take you to completely devour these two flying swords? Ningyu rolled his eyes and asked. Half an hour. The Red Demon patted his chest and promised, I've been bored to death. Give me half an hour, and I promise I can upgrade the Red Demon sword to the level of an ingot, or even peerless immortal. All right, stop bragging. Ningyu hurriedly interrupted the Red Demon's bragging. Devouring two peerless immortal flying swords could upgrade the red demon sword to the level of a supreme treasure? Who the hell were you kidding? Since everyone is here, let me briefly explain the rules of the brilliant void meet. At this moment, a powerful voice resounded above the heavenly star square. Obviously, the speaker was the leader of the Brilliant Void Alliance. The rules are simple. The major alliances are the unit. The leader announced, there are 3 arenas on the plaza. The Gods Alliance, the God-Slaying Alliance, and the Water-Moon Alliance will each send 5 disciples to guard the arenas. The other alliances can challenge them. The victorious alliance can continue, but the defeated alliance will disband on the spot. There is no time limit for this challenge. It will continue until no alliance is willing to challenge us. Chapter 2209. Voila! The Chief Alliance Master's words instantly caused a great uproar in the Heavenly Star Plaza. Challenge the Gods Alliance, kill the Gods Alliance, and Water Moon Alliance? In the Koan Su Alliance, these 3 major alliances were undoubtedly the overlords. With the Big Alliance as a unit, the chances of them winning were close to 0. As the saying goes, there are policies from above and countermeasures from below. The alliances at the bottom of the rankings all started to discuss the merger. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that none of the great alliances could win against the Gods Alliance alone. However, one alliance couldn't win, but that didn't mean 2 couldn't win. It didn't mean 3 couldn't win. While these alliances were discussing, Ning Yu and Song Qing had already arrived on the stage. Before he came, Zheng Jiqiang had already briefly explained the rules of the convention. At first, it was the Great Alliance's challenge. The 3 alliances that emerged victorious in the end would then engage in a civil war. As for the challenge, Ning Yu wasn't too worried. Even if he didn't make a move, just relying on Song Qing, Sun Shao, and the others would still be able to defend the ring. I'll leave it to you. Ning Yu waved his hand at Song Qing, then walked to the edge of the arena and sat down cross-legged. The battle with He Jiang had consumed 2 streams of energy in his body. Previously, he had 17 strands of energy in his body. Now there were only 15 left. Moreover, it looked like Ning Yu had won easily, but that was not the case. After all, He Jiang was the chief core disciple of the Gods' Union. The huge recoil from the battle just now had caused some internal injuries to Ning Yu's body. Fortunately, the first round was the Alliance Challenge, giving Ning Yu enough time to rest. If they were to start a friendly match between the 3 major alliances, the Divine Alliance would be the one to benefit from it. Perhaps all the martial artists in the Heavenly Star Plaza thought that He Jiang was the strongest, but Ning Yu knew very well that the Killing God Union's Su Ming was much stronger than He Jiang. 2 He Jiangs might not even be a match for 1 He Jiang. Xiao. Ning Yu had just sat down cross-legged when he felt a gaze lock onto him. With a slight frown, Ning Yu turned around to look. Su Ming. In another arena, Su Ming glared at Ning Yu. Wash your neck and wait. You will die soon. Su Ming spoke to Ning Yu, his mouth slightly agape. There are many people who can kill me, but unfortunately, you are still lacking. Ning Yu shrugged and replied, the Water Moon League will definitely be able to withstand the challenge from the Major League Alliance. However, I reckon that it will be a little difficult for you to kill the Divine League. The Killing God Alliance has as many experts as there are clouds in the sky. I don't even need to do anything to. Su Ming snorted. However, before Su Ming could finish his snort, his expression changed drastically. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. A core disciple of the God-Slaying Union had been thrown off the stage. Poochie! Fresh blood spurted from his mouth. This core disciple of the God-Killing Union died tragically on the spot. Voila! The death of the God-Slaying Alliance's disciple caused the expressions of the onlookers to change. Everyone's gaze shifted to the thin martial artist in the ring. Who the hell is he? How dare he challenge the god-slaying union and kill a core disciple? Crack! Inside the loft, the killing god's son slammed the chair beneath him with his right hand. The huge force shattered the chair into pieces. Hee, it's just a spar. Casualties are unavoidable. Brother killing god, why are you so angry? True Lord Mad God, who was next to the killing god's son, smiled and said, the god-slaying union has Su Ming overseeing it. I'm sure you can turn the tide and kill that rascal. Humph! The killing god's son snorted but did not speak. The killing god's son suspected that someone was behind this. The 5 core disciples of the god-slaying union were all carefully selected by him. Each of them could hold their own. Even if they encountered a heavenly demon at the peak of the essence immortal realm, they would be able to put up a fight and would not be defeated so quickly. But now the thin figure in the ring killed the core disciple he had selected with one move. Could it be someone prepared by true Lord Mad God? The killing god's son frowned. In his opinion, there were only 4 people in the entire Kuan Su alliance who could train a thin warrior. He, true Lord Mad God, Water Moon Fairy, and the Alliance Master of the Kuan Su Alliance. The Alliance Master would not do something so stupid. The most suspicious ones were Crazed God True Immortal and Shueiwa Fairy. However, the Water Moon Alliance already had 2 freaks, Xiao Yi and Ningyu. The killing god's son did not believe that Water Moon Fairy had extra resources to train geniuses. It seemed that true Lord Mad God was the most suspicious. You're asking for it. In the ring. Seeing that his companion was killed, a core disciple in blue from the god-slaying union shouted and rushed out. Su Ming opened his mouth and wanted to stop him, but he chose to shut up in the end. When the core disciple was killed, Su Ming was talking to Ningyu, so he did not notice the specific situation. This was a good opportunity to observe the thin warrior's strength. Su Ming had his reasons for not stopping him. In an instant, the blue-clothed core disciple of the killing god union arrived in front of the skinny martial artist and punched the skinny martial artist's head. Facing the incoming fist, the thin warrior's expression was calm. He clenched his right fist and punched out. Crack! There was no doubt. The god-slaying union core disciple was defeated on the spot. When exchanging pointers with a thin and weak cultivator, losing would only result in death. Swoosh! The skinny martial artist stomped on the ground and rushed out. Bang! Bang! It only took 3 seconds. Apart from Su Ming, the remaining core disciples of the god-slaying union were all killed. Can't even withstand a single blow. The thin warrior raised an eyebrow at Su Ming. I hope you won't disappoint me. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. Su Ming took a deep breath, and his expression became extremely grave. Su Ming's first impression of the thin warrior was that he was strong. His second impression was that he was extremely strong. But no matter how strong the thin warrior was, Su Ming had to bite the bullet. Of the 5 core disciples of the god-slaying union, he was the only one left. If he didn't go, wouldn't it mean that the god-slaying union would be eliminated? In another arena, Ningyu stared at the skinny cultivator with a frown on his face. What's wrong? Song Qing was puzzled. I think I've seen him somewhere. Ningyu said, as for where exactly, I can't remember. The Kuan Su Alliance has many powerhouses and geniuses. He should be nurtured by a small alliance. Song Qing explained. The Kuan Su Alliance had many large and small alliances, as well as many large sections. With more people, there would definitely be geniuses. But the combat power displayed by the emaciated martial artist truly shocked Song Qing. Song Qing had thought about it. If it was him, he might not be able to block one move from the thin warrior. No. Suddenly, Ningyu's expression changed, and he said in a low voice, I know where I've seen him. The reason why Ningyu was shocked was because he had guessed the identity of the thin martial artist. Heavenly demon. That's right, the thin warrior was a heavenly demon. Chapter 22:10. Swoosh. Ning Yu's expression turned grave. The arrival of Diwentian's clone meant that the celestial demon army had begun to invade Sky Star City. Shifting his gaze, Ning Yu began to observe his surroundings. After observing for a while, Ning Yu withdrew his gaze. Just as he'd thought, he'd noticed several suspicious auras in the Heavenly Star Plaza. Without a doubt, 80% of those presences belonged to celestial demons. Where did you see him? Song Qing asked. Ning Yu had seen Diwentian's clone, but Song Qing hadn't. Therefore, Song Qing was a little confused. He had no idea what Ning Yu was talking about. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu said in a low voice, "That thin cultivator in the arena is a celestial demon, and he has a high status among them." Boom! Song Qing exploded when he heard Ning Yu's explanation. Celestial demon? If he didn't know Ning Yu's character, Song Qing would have thought Ning Yu was joking. After all, this was Sky Star City, and the Brilliant Void Alliance's higher-ups were in the pavilion. Leaving aside the Brilliant Void Alliance's leader, True Lord Crazed God of the Gods Alliance, the God-slaying Son of the Gods Alliance, and the Water Moon Fairy of the Water Moon Alliance were all peerless immortals. With peerless immortals around, why would a thin cultivator dare come? No matter how strong the thin cultivator was, his cultivation couldn't reach the peerless immortal realm. Ning Yu didn't explain when he saw Song Qing's puzzled gaze. Ning Yu knew it was pointless no matter how much he tried to explain. Russell. All of a sudden, Ning Yu's expression changed, and he looked away from Su Ming's arena. This was because a young martial artist dressed in white had leaped up and landed on the arena he was on. Zhu Minghai challenged the Water Moon Alliance. The cultivator in white extended his right hand and pointed at Ning Yu and Song Qing. To save time, all of you can come at me together. Swoosh. Zhu Minghai's words caused a stir in the surroundings. The climax of the Brilliant Void meeting came one after another. First, a skinny martial artist challenged the Killing God Alliance and instantly killed 4 Killing God Alliance core disciples. Now, there was another white-robed cultivator challenging the Water Moon Union. Furthermore, he did not care about the Water Moon Union at all. He wanted the Water Moon Union's core disciples to attack together. Whoosh! In an instant, everyone shifted their gaze towards the Gods Alliance. Bang! He didn't disappoint everyone. A bald martial artist leaped onto the stage where the Gods Union was located. In my opinion, there isn't a single person in your Gods Alliance who can fight. The corners of the bald martial artist's mouth curled up as he said disdainfully, "To be able to force out 30% of my strength, you guys are quite capable. Arrogant. Arrogant. I alone am enough to deal with you." Swish, 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 swish. Provoked by the bald cultivator, the core disciples of the Gods Union roared. Even. Apart from He Jiang, the other 4 core disciples also charged out. Bang, 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 bang. The facts proved that the bald martial artist was not boasting. Facing the 4 core disciples who were dashing towards him, he waved his right hand in the air, and in a split second, 4 rays of cold light shot out. The cold radiance collided with the core disciple of the Gods Union. 4 crisp sounds resounded in the air. The 4 core disciples of the Gods Union were immediately thrown off the stage and hit the ground like dead dogs. The 4 core disciples could only exhale but not inhale. Rumble. This sudden change made those who wanted to ridicule the bald martial artist shut their mouth. The bald martial artist was right. He did not need to use his full strength to deal with the core disciples of the Gods Union. Now it seemed that even 30% of his strength was a little too much. Because not long ago, Ning Yu easily defeated He Jiang, causing He Jiang to lose a lot of confidence. Would He Jiang dare to fight with the bald martial artist again? Whoosh! It was as if he wanted to slap the onlookers' faces. He Jiang's feet stepped on the ground and his body suddenly rushed out. He Jiang held his breath in his heart. Not long ago, when he was defeated by Ning Yu, He thought that it was because he was careless. Now that he was being ridiculed by the bald martial artist, he naturally had to go all out and fight back. Crack. However, today was destined to be a tragic day for He Jiang. One move. With just one move, he was defeated by the bald martial artist. He Jiang spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura instantly dropped from the late essence immortal realm to the freezing point. After being defeated by Ningyu just now, He Jiang consumed a lot of resources to recover to his peak state. But now, he was defeated by the bald martial artist again. After being defeated twice in a day, the anger in He Jiang's heart completely dissipated and he became abnormally dispirited. Crack. However, the bald martial artist did not care whether He Jiang was dispirited or not. He chased after He Jiang and punched He Jiang's head with a violent gust of wind. In an instant, He Jiang's head exploded and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Seeing He Jiang's miserable state, all the martial artists in the entire Heavenly Star Plaza gasped. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. If the performance of the thin martial artist was amazing enough, then the performance of the bald martial artist was even more amazing. In a short period of time, the 5 core disciples of the Gods Alliance were completely annihilated. On the Gods Killing Alliance's side, Su Ming was still struggling. In everyone's opinion, the Water Moon Alliance's ending should not be any better. What's going on? The Water Moon Alliance seems to be quite capable. Nonsense. Is this called capable? This is called very capable. Ningyu is indeed Ningyu. His strength is strong. In my opinion, among the 3 major alliances, only the Water Moon Alliance can stand tall. It's hard to say. After the bald martial artist and the thin martial artist win, they will definitely challenge the Water Moon Alliance. Swish. Sure enough, after the bald martial artist killed He Jiang, he immediately turned his head and rushed to the Water Moon Alliance's arena. On the Water Moon Alliance's arena, Song Qing and the 4 core disciples stayed at the back, while Ningyu took the initiative to fight Zhu Minghai. Zhu Minghai's strength was very strong, stronger than anyone could imagine. Even Ningyu felt great pressure when facing him, let alone Song Qing and the others. Therefore, Ningyu faced Zhu Minghai alone and let Song Qing and the 4 core disciples retreat to the back. You guys go down. However, seeing the bald martial artist rushing over, Ningyu made a prompt decision and chose to let Song Qing and the others give up the arena. If they stayed in the arena, they would definitely be killed. If they went down, the bald martial artist and the others would not dare to be angry for the time being. At this time, Ningyu finally understood. The higher-ups of the Kuan-Su Alliance must have noticed some clues. They must be fishing for a big fish. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't have watched as the Gods Alliance and the Gods Killing Alliance lost so many experts. Whether it was He Jiang or Su Ming, who was struggling over there, they would definitely become peerless immortals in the future. Abandoning them without hesitation meant that the higher-ups of the Kuan-Su Alliance had their own considerations. However, Ningyu was a little annoyed. How cruel! Ningyu could basically conclude that he was also one of the abandoned members. Chapter 22:11. Ningyu didn't blame Shueiyue Fairy. On the contrary, he was grateful to her. After all, he'd gained a lot from her. Not only had his cultivation reached half-step essence immortal realm, but he'd also refined 10 essence immortal nomological laws and devoured a lot of energy. Next, whether he'd be the bait or the fisherman, it all depended on his performance. You're smart. The bald cultivator leaped up and quickly arrived at the arena. Sweeping a glance at Song Qing and the others below, he turned to Ningyu and said coolly, "If you know, tell them to scram." Cut the crap. Ningyu's expression was cold. With a thought, he summoned the Water Moon fan. Since he'd already refined the fan, he naturally had to use it now. The Red Fiend was devouring 2 peerless immortal grade flying swords and needed half an hour to upgrade them to the level of ingot. For the time being, Ning Yu could only use the Watermoon fan. This fan is pretty good, I'll take it. The bald cultivator arched an eyebrow and charged out. Humph. The fan is mine. Zhu Minghai snorted and followed closely behind the bald cultivator. Kill. Ning Yu poured 2 strands of energy into the Watermoon fan and fanned out. Whoosh, whoosh. In a split second, energy surged out of the Watermoon fan, erupting with terrifying power. Although the Watermoon fan was a treasure powered by immortal meridians, it could amplify energy slightly. With the fan, Ning Yu could increase his combat strength by about 10%. Interesting. The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes as they watched the energy rush toward them. They knew very well. Every strand of energy rushing toward them was peerless immortal grade in power. To be able to unleash 2 strands of peerless immortal grade energy at once was a testament to Ning Yu's strength. No wonder Master told us to be careful of someone called Ning Yu. The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai thought to themselves. Before entering Skystar City, Di Wentian had told them to be careful of Ning Yu. At that time, they didn't think much of it, because back then, Di Wentian had told them that Ning Yu's cultivation base was that of an ancestral immortal. But now they finally understood. Di Wentian was still Di Wentian. His judgment was several levels higher than them. In such a short period of time, Ning Yu's strength had increased by several levels, to the point where he could fight them head-on. Rumble! Rumble! The bald martial artist and Zhu Minghai waved their hands repeatedly, and a terrifying energy also swept out from their bodies. The 4 energies collided. The terrifying shockwave sent the martial artists close to the arena, flying several meters away. Poochie! There were even some martial artists with low cultivation who died tragically on the spot. You're very strong, but it's a pity that you met us. After one move, the bald cultivator did not continue to attack. Instead, he said, I'll give you a chance to live. Open your mind and let me control it. Humph. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. Zhu Minghai coldly snorted. Even if he lets us control him, we still have to cut off his limbs and turn him into a human stick. Have you lost your minds? Ning Yu looked at the bald martial artist and Zhu Minghai as if they were idiots. Let him open his mind? Cut off his limbs and turn him into a human stick? How could they say such a thing? Through that exchange just now, Ning Yu had a rough idea of their combat strength. The bald martial artist was slightly stronger, at the peak of early-stage Peerless Immortal. Zhu Minghai was slightly weaker, at the early-stage Peerless Immortal level. In that attack, Ning Yu had used 2 streams of energy. Coupled with the 2 he used against He Jiang, Ning Yu now had 13 streams of energy in his body. Ning Yu was well aware of that. As long as he used all 13 streams of energy in his body at the same time, even if the bald martial artist and Zhu Minghai joined forces, they would not be able to withstand it. Courting death. The bald martial artist was enraged when he heard Ning Yu's mockery. His expression was cold and he wanted to charge out. However, Zhu Minghai grabbed his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Let him run wild for now. We'll talk about it when the battle over there is over." Rumble. On the other side of the arena, the thin martial artist's expression was extremely dark. He had thought he could easily kill Su Ming, but Su Ming was like an unkillable cockroach. The more he fought, the fiercer he became. He had already used 30% of his strength, but he still couldn't kill Su Ming. 50%. The furious thin martial artist decided to release the seal in his body and use 50% of his strength. The thin martial artist, no, Di Wentian's clone. Di Wentian's clone was very confident. Because 50% of his strength was comparable to a mid-stage Peerless Immortal. Even if he couldn't reach the mid-stage Peerless Immortal level, he could reach the peak early-stage Peerless Immortal level. 3 days ago, Di Wentian's clone wouldn't have been so confident. But today, he was full of confidence. There was no other reason. Di Wentian had devoured all 7 of the Emperor Immortal Pills clone pills. After consuming the clone elixirs of the 7 Emperor Immortal Pills, Di Wentian's cultivation level shot up to the pinnacle of the primordial immortal stage. When Di Wentian was an early-stage virtual immortal, his strength was already comparable to an early-stage peerless immortal. Now that he was a peak virtual immortal, his strength had multiplied several times. Even if it was just a clone, using 50% of his strength was enough to kill a peak early-stage peerless immortal. Die. Di Wentian's clone clenched his right fist and punched at Su Ming. It was a critical moment. Su Ming couldn't care less. His figure flashed out and rushed straight to the ring where Ningyu was. Ningyu was a little dumbfounded by Su Ming's actions. He and Su Ming had a deep grudge. When he had first arrived at Tianxing City, he had a conflict with Su Ming in front of the Water Moon restaurant. At the time, he and Su Ming had been at loggerheads. But now, not only was Su Ming flying toward him, but he was even sending him a voice transmission for help. Forget it. Ningyu took a deep breath and decided to save Su Ming. Ningyu was very open-minded when it came to matters of right and wrong. He and Su Ming did have a grudge. But Su Ming's opponent was Di Wentian's clone. Helping Su Ming was equivalent to helping himself. Go! With a thought, Ningyu sent a stream of energy from his body toward Di Wentian's clone behind Su Ming. In order to help Su Ming, Ningyu didn't hesitate to use up 5 elemental immortal nomological laws, wrapping them around the stream of energy. After all, killing Di Wentian's clone would definitely affect Di Wentian's main body greatly. Killing Di Wentian's clone here was a good thing, after all. You're quite capable. The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai grinned when they saw Ningyu interfering in the fight between Su Ming and the thin cultivator, but they chose not to interfere. They knew the thin cultivator was Di Wentian's clone. They had almost fanatical trust in Di Wentian. Chapter 22:12. Humph! Looking at the vigorous energy rushing towards him, the skinny cultivator snorted coldly and suddenly increased his speed. In the blink of an eye, the thin martial artist caught up to Su Ming. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched Su Ming's chest, stirring up a violent gust of wind. Bang! The force was tremendous. It sent Su Ming flying dozens of feet away, and he only stopped when he crashed into the edge of the stage. How unfortunate! Su Ming didn't fall off the stage, but on the stage. The stage he'd fallen into was the one where Ningyu and the bald cultivator were fighting. Swoosh! Swoosh! The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai wouldn't let go of a juicy piece of meat that was delivered to their mouth. They pushed off the ground and darted forward. Damn it! Ningyu cursed inwardly when he saw the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai charge at Su Ming. He'd focused most of his attention on the thin cultivator and couldn't spare a second thought for Su Ming. However, Ningyu knew that Su Ming hadn't unleashed his full strength yet. He could win 1 against 3, but it would be a Pyrrhic victory. That was why he decided to help Su Ming. Because helping Su Ming meant helping himself. Go! With a thought, Ningyu hastily forced 2 streams of energy out of his body. His 2 beams of energy streaked across the sky in an arc, heading straight for the bald martial artist and Zhu Minghai. Oh no! The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai knew how terrifying energy was. They retreated and gave up on attacking Su Ming. Whoosh! Their retreat gave Su Ming a great opportunity. Exhaling deeply, Su Ming sat down cross-legged and fished out a blood-red jade bottle. Hiss! Ningyu sucked in a sharp breath as soon as he took the bottle out. The blood essence of a peak peerless immortal. The blood-red jade bottle contained the blood essence of a peak peerless immortal. Su Ming was a blood devourer and extremely sensitive to blood. Crack! He wasted no time and tossed the bottle into his mouth. Boom! As the blood essence entered his stomach, Su Ming exuded a terrifying aura. I can't believe it. The bald warrior and Zhu Minghai cursed when they sensed Su Ming's terrifying aura. They had thought that killing Su Ming and Ning Yu would be a piece of cake. But now they changed their minds. One Ning Yu was troublesome enough, but now there was an even more troublesome Su Ming. Whoosh! In an instant they shifted their gazes to the thin martial artist on the other side. What they saw caused their mouths to gape slightly, their faces filled with disbelief. In the face of Ning Yu's energy attack, the thin martial artist did not have the upper hand. They were evenly matched. The thin martial artist was blocked at the edge of the arena, unable to enter the arena. This is infuriating. The thin martial artist gritted his teeth in anger. It wasn't that he couldn't destroy the energy, but he realized that the energy he was facing was endless and endless. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't destroy it. From 50% of his strength at the beginning, to 80%, 90%, and even 100% of his strength. It must be them. The thin martial artist glanced at the attic from the corner of his eye. By now, the thin martial artist could basically conclude that the people in the attic must have discovered him. However, the thin martial artist did not particularly care. Even if the people in the attic found him, he was fearless. Wait a little longer. The thin martial artist gritted his teeth. He had planned for a long time for this plan. He was about to succeed. He could not fail at the last moment. Break for me. Gritting his teeth, the thin martial artist clenched his right fist and used all his strength to punch the energy in front of him. Crack! In an instant, a crisp sound rang out. The next moment, the energy shattered and completely dissipated. What are you doing? At the same time, in the attic, Water Moon Fairy's expression became very ugly. She was the one who had secretly helped Ning Yu. If it weren't for her help, the thin martial artist would have already killed his way into the arena. However, just as she was thinking of severely injuring the thin martial artist, the Gods Alliance's true monarch Kuang Shen suddenly attacked her. Humph! Water Moon Fairy, I think you should understand something. Kuang Shen snorted coldly. We have prepared for this day for so long I can't watch you destroy it. What destruction did I do? Water Moon Fairy said in a deep voice. Are you going to watch Ning Yu and Su Ming be killed? Ning Yu and Su Ming are humans. Isn't he Jiang human? Kuang Shen said angrily. I don't want to say anything unnecessary. In short, before the plan completely starts, if you dare to interfere, don't blame me for being rude. You. Water Moon Fairy said angrily. Both of you, speak less. Killing God's Son waved his hand and said, Kuang Shen is right, we have planned for this day for a long time, we can't fail. At this point, Killing God's Son changed the topic and continued. Water Moon Fairy is right, for this plan, we have already lost an outstanding genius like He Jiang, we can't lose Ning Yu and Su Ming. Humph! Kuang Shen and Water Moon Fairy snorted coldly at the same time. Swish! 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 At the same time, Sky Star Plaza, on the arena. The thin martial artist, the bald martial artist, and Zhu Minghai stood side by side. Opposite, Ning Yu and Su Ming looked at each other coldly. At this time, Ning Yu and Su Ming had completely united, putting aside their differences and standing together. 2 against 3. At least from the looks of it, it was far better than 1 against 3. I wonder if Ning Yu can win. That goes without saying, Ning Yu will definitely win. Not necessarily, the bald martial artist and the others are not weak, they can even easily kill He Jiang, not to mention Ning Yu. Who does He Jiang think he is? Wasn't he defeated by Ning Yu? What are you arguing about? No matter who wins, the Kuan-Su alliance will change drastically in the end. That's true, I agree. Below the arena, everyone was discussing. On the Water Moon Alliance's side, Song Qing and Sun Shao had ugly expressions. They knew how strong the bald martial artist and the thin martial artist were. Strictly speaking, be it the bald martial artist or Zhu Minghai, their combined strength was around the early-stage peerless immortal level. But Song Qing and the others couldn't see through the thin martial artist. Logically speaking, the thin martial artist couldn't even block one of Ning Yu's energy. How strong could he be? But Song Qing and the others still felt that the thin martial artist was the strongest. Elder Zheng, how strong do you think the thin martial artist is? Song Qing turned to Zheng Jiqiang and asked. I'm not sure exactly, but I can tell you that the thin martial artist's combined strength is comparable to a mid-stage peerless immortal. Chapter 22:13. His. Song Qing and the others gasped at Zheng Jiqiang's words. Peak peerless immortal mid-stage? A peerless immortal mid-stage was enough to rank in the top 10 of the Brilliant Void Alliance. If the thin cultivator's strength really reached the mid-stage peerless immortal stage, then Ning Yu would be in deep trouble. But don't worry. Zheng Jiqiang waved his hand, indicating that they shouldn't worry too much. The others might not know, but Zheng Jiqiang did. The scene of Ning Yu subduing the water moon fan was still fresh in Zheng Jiqiang's mind. Goddess Xueyue had once said, even a peerless immortal mid-stage might not be able to subdue the fan. If Ning Yu could do that, didn't that mean Ning Yu was as strong as a peerless immortal mid-stage cultivator? Not to mention, after devouring blood, Su Ming's overall strength had reached a terrifying level. Peak peerless immortal early stage. Su Ming's combat ability had reached the terrifying peak peerless immortal early stage. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage against the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai. Ning Yu, we meet again. The thin cultivator looked at Ning Yu and sent a voice projection with his mouth agape. Yes, we meet again. Ning Yu exclaimed, compared to last time, I'm impressed with your strength. Is that so? The skinny cultivator raised his eyebrows and said, this is just a clone of mine. If you see my main body, you will look at me in a different light. Cut the crap. Let's see who's better. Ning Yu shouted in a low voice, then he stomped his feet on the ground and suddenly charged out. Swoosh. Su Ming didn't stay idle when he saw Ning Yu charge. Rumble. The battle erupted in an instant. Su Ming faced off against the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai, while Ning Yu faced off against the thin cultivator alone. The bald cultivator's overall strength was at peak peerless immortal early stage, and Zhu Minghai's was at that level. However, they didn't gain much of an advantage against Su Ming. A draw. Su Ming fought 1 against 2, and it was a draw. Bang. Bang. On the other side of the battlefield, Ning Yu and the thin martial artist were in a stalemate. The two of them punched each other's chests at the same time. The enormous force caused Ning Yu and the thin martial artist to retreat several feet at the same time. Jie, your strength really did not disappoint me. The skinny cultivator let out a strange laugh, then flicked his wrist and took out a flying sword from his bosom. The flying sword was silver in color and not too long. However, the sword's grade was peerless immortal. Even with peerless immortal grade flying swords, ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to unleash their full potential. However, that weak-looking cultivator was a clone of Di Wentian. It didn't take the thin cultivator too long to activate a peerless immortal flying sword. Water Moon Fan. When Ning Yu saw the thin cultivator take out the silver flying sword, he took out the Water Moon Fan with a thought. At the end of the day, the Water Moon Fan was a peerless immortal treasure. Before the Red Demon's sword reached the level of an ingot, he could only use the Water Moon Fan to defend himself. Ding! The next moment, the silver flying sword collided with the Water Moon Fan. The two weapons collided. Suddenly, a crisp sound was heard. Hiss! Ning Yu sucked in a breath of cold air at the searing pain that came from the webbing between his thumb and forefinger. Interesting. The thin cultivator swung his slightly swollen wrist and said coolly, but you're still no match for me. As he spoke, the thin cultivator poured the energy in his body into the silver flying sword and swung it at Ning Yu. Ding! Another clear and melodious sound rang out. This time, neither Ning Yu nor the thin cultivator retreated. They stood where they were, their expressions grave at the same time. After 2 exchanges, they had a good grasp of their opponent's overall strength. Ning Yu was shocked, but the thin cultivator was even more shocked. The thin cultivator could sense an extremely terrifying energy in Ning Yu's body. If it were to be unleashed at once, even he might not be able to withstand it. I have to think of a way to steal the energy. The thin cultivator's eyes darted around, trying to come up with a countermeasure. His main body needed energy, a lot of it. His main body was trying to break through to Peerless Immortal. Once it succeeded, it would immediately rush here and launch an all-out attack on the Kungsu Alliance. The key to speeding up the main body's breakthrough was energy, a large amount of pure energy. Got it. All of a sudden, the thin cultivator raised an eyebrow and tossed the silver flying sword at Ning Yu. Ning Yu was a little surprised to see the flying sword flying toward him. But surprise aside, there was no reason for him to give up on a piece of meat that was already in his grasp. Go! Ning Yu tossed the water moon fan as well. The water moon fan was the water moon fairy's treasure, a treasure of immortal vein energy. It could even refine an immortal vein, let alone a peerless immortal flying sword. Ning Yu's idea was to let the water moon fan deal with the silvery white flying sword, while he would clash head-on with the thin martial artist. Take this. The thin martial artist's thoughts were surprisingly consistent with Ning Yu's. The thin cultivator shouted at Ning Yu when he saw the silver flying sword come into contact with the water moon fan. Bam! In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu's fist collided with the thin cultivator's. The two collided. Neither Ning Yu nor the thin cultivator showed any signs of retreating. What's going on? Are they both injured? Of course. How could Ning Yu be injured? I think they're fighting to the death. You're even more ridiculous. Who the hell knows they're fighting to the death? A cultivator rolled his eyes. As the focus of everyone's discussion, Ning Yu and the thin cultivator couldn't care less. They were trying their best to absorb the other's energy into their bodies. I don't believe you're stronger than me. The thin cultivator snorted coldly and said angrily, Come here. Hee, if you were here in your main body, I might be afraid, but you're just an avatar, why should I be afraid? Ning Yu smiled faintly. In terms of devouring energy, Ning Yu had never been afraid of anyone. When devouring the water moon fan's energy, Ning Yu gained a lot of experience. Moreover, the energy in his body was much more than that of the thin cultivator. Even if it was a competition of energy, Ning Yu could defeat the thin cultivator. Done. Just as Ning Yu and the thin cultivator were competing, the voice of the Red Devil suddenly sounded in his ears. Done what? Ning Yu was slightly startled as he asked. The Red Devil sword's current level is at the peak of ingot. The Red Devil said proudly, My current cultivation level has also reached the essence immortal. Stop, hurry up and help. Ning Yu hurriedly interrupted the Red Devil's words and urged, Help me plunder the thin cultivator's energy. I'll do it. The Red Devil cursed when he heard Ning Yu's words. Why didn't you inform me in advance about such a good thing? Let me tell you, I'll take the majority of the energy this time, because I'm now at the peak of the essence immortal realm. Next, I'm going to break through to the peerless immortal realm. Chapter 22:14. Take your head. Cut the crap and hurry up and help. Ning Yu shouted in a low voice. The thin martial artist was Di Wentian's clone. His overall strength was extremely strong. If one was careless when fighting for energy with him, all their efforts might go to waste. The Red Fiend had to be highly focused and couldn't afford to be careless. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to snatch the energy from the thin martial artist, his own energy would also be snatched away. All right. Ning Yu's two reminders made the Red Fiend realize the severity of the problem. He immediately unleashed his powerful devouring power and started devouring the energy of the thin martial artist together with Ningyu. Ningyu, this day next year will be the day you die. The thin martial artist glared at Ningyu and took out a white pill with his left hand, tossing it into his mouth and chewing. Crack! The pill entered his stomach. In an instant, the thin martial artist's devouring power increased greatly. Originally, they were evenly matched and neither could do anything to the other. But now, the energy in Ningyu's body was moving towards the thin martial artist. Ha ha ha! Seeing this, the thin martial artist threw his head back and laughed maniacally, as if he could see Ningyu being sucked dry. What? However, the thin martial artist's expression changed drastically before he could rejoice for long. He realized that the energy in his body was moving towards Ningyu's body. How is that possible? The thin martial artist yelled, his face filled with disbelief. One had to know. The pill he had devoured was of a high grade. Although it wasn't peerless immortal level, it wasn't too far off. After swallowing the elixir, his devouring power had at least doubled. Under such circumstances, how could the energy in his body enter Ningyu's body? Nothing is impossible. As long as you believe, everything is possible. Ningyu shrugged and said casually, "Do you want to learn the devouring power? Surrender and let me control you. I can teach you." "I'm so angry." Hearing Ningyu's mocking words, the thin martial artist trembled in anger. But there was nothing he could do. He had used all his abilities, but there was no way he could contend against Ningyu's devouring power. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before the energy in his body would be completely devoured. Damn it! The thin martial artist cursed in his heart. Now, he regretted it a little. If he didn't want to take advantage of them, he wouldn't have ended up like this. There was only one way for him to survive. Diwentian had ascended to the peerless immortal realm and was here as his main body. There was no other way. Drip, drip, time was ticking away. Almost every minute, the thin martial artist's energy would decrease by a portion. As time went by, the energy in the emaciated martial artist's body was getting lesser and lesser. Faster! Ningyu shouted in a deep voice. After a period of devouring, the energy in his body had increased from 12 to 17. Of course, Ningyu was not satisfied. The energy in the thin martial artist's body was no less than his. If he could devour all of them, his battle prowess would at least double. No problem. The Red Fiend pushed the Red Fiend's sword to its limits, frenziedly devouring the energy in the thin martial artist's body. At this point, the Red Fiend finally understood. The energy in the thin martial artist's body could only be given to Ningyu. He couldn't get any of it. Fortunately, Ningyu had agreed to let him devour the silver flying sword. No matter what, the silver flying sword was a peerless immortal level Dharma treasure. After devouring it, his cultivation would reach the half-step peerless immortal realm. Chi-chi. Under the dual devouring of Ningyu and the Red Fiend, the thin martial artist's body gradually shriveled up. Swoosh! In an instant, the thin martial artist was completely turned into a dried corpse. Swoosh! The sudden change caused the expressions of all the martial artists in the square to change drastically. Everyone looked at the arena in shock. No one knew what had happened. Wasn't everything fine just now? How did the thin martial artist turn into a dried corpse in the blink of an eye? I told you that Ningyu would win. It's true. You told me? I remember very clearly that you were the one who shouted the loudest just now. That's right, you were the one who said that Ningyu would definitely lose and be reduced to a human stick. All sorts of discussions erupted in the crowd. No one had a good impression of the thin martial artist, so they didn't feel sorry for him to be killed. What? In comparison, the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai on the stage were even more shocked. They knew the true identity of the thin martial artist, which was why they were even more shocked. That was Diwentian's clone. If Ningyu could even kill Diwentian's clone, What more them? What should we do? The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai looked at each other and secretly said, should we leave? The two of them were in a dilemma. If they stayed, given Ning Yu's strength and Su Ming's covetous gaze, their lives would be in danger. But if they didn't stay, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves when Di Wentian arrived. What's your decision? At this moment, Ning Yu's indifferent voice rang in their ears. Hearing that, the bald martial artist and Zhu Minghai's expressions changed slightly. Don't think that you can fight against us just because you killed the thin martial artist. The bald martial artist snorted coldly. Surrender now if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Zhu Minghai stepped out and said arrogantly, those who surrender will not die. The two of them had already thought of a countermeasure. Delay. As long as they could delay until Di Wentian arrived, then all problems could be solved. Idiot. Ningyu rolled his eyes, then turned to Su Ming. How are you? Can you still fight? I won't die, Su Ming said. To be honest, fighting 1 against 2, Su Ming was indeed under a lot of pressure. But at the crucial moment, Ningyu defeated the thin martial artist, giving him enough time to recover. Actually, Su Ming was very grateful to Ningyu. After all, if not for Ningyu, he would have been killed by the thin martial artist a long time ago. As long as you're not dead. Ningyu shrugged, then sent a message telepathically. Su Ming, keep an eye on those two for me. I want to absorb the thin martial artist's energy. No problem, Su Ming said in a low voice. Thank you. Ningyu sat down cross-legged and used a spell to drain his energy. At this moment, Ningyu decided to break through to the virtual immortal realm. Not only did Ningyu devour the thin martial artist's energy, but he also devoured his memories. From the thin martial artist's memories, Ningyu could roughly tell that Di Wentian was breaking through to the peerless immortal realm. Once Di Wentian reached the peerless immortal realm, his strength would increase exponentially. When that happened, he probably wouldn't even have a 10% chance of winning against Di Wentian. Therefore, Ningyu decided to break through to the virtual immortal realm immediately. As long as he could reach the virtual immortal realm, his strength would increase exponentially. Buzz buzz. Chapter 22:15. All of a sudden, the arena became eerily quiet. Su Ming and the bald cultivator faced off against each other. Ningyu sat cross-legged on the ground, seemingly resting with his eyes closed. Other than Ningyu himself, even Su Ming did not know that he was trying to break through to the essence immortal realm. What a monster! Inside the Red Fiend's sword, the Red Fiend smacked his lip. To think that Ningyu could think of breaking through to the essence immortal realm in the arena. One had to know. Ningyu's great tribulation of the ancestor immortal realm was terrifying enough. One could imagine how terrifying the great tribulation of the essence immortal realm would be. Many people would probably be affected by the great tribulation of the essence immortal realm here. I have to refine my flying sword well and try to break through to the half-step peerless immortal level. The Red Fiend took out the thin cultivator's silvery white flying sword and began devouring it wholeheartedly. The process of cultivation was dull and boring. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, half an hour passed. Within half an hour, Ningyu adjusted his mental state to the extreme. It could be said that as long as Ningyu was willing, he could trigger the great tribulation of the essence immortal realm at any time. Go! After observing for half an hour, the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai finally decided to attack. Among them, the bald cultivator attacked Su Ming, while Zhu Minghai attacked Ningyu. Crack! At that moment, the space above the arena suddenly split open, and a group of cultivators emerged from the void. Rumble! As soon as these cultivators appeared, they immediately attacked the people in the square. Ah! My eyes! My leg is broken. Get out of my way, let me go. Walk a few rounds, I'm more handsome than you, let me go first. In an instant the entire square became abnormally chaotic. All sorts of shouts and curses could be heard. They're finally here. Looking at the experts who had appeared in the air, Shueisha Fairy and the rest of the people in the pavilion looked slightly solemn. They had planned for so long for this moment. Heavenly Star Array, rise. In the next instant, Water Moon Fairy, True Lord Kwangshen, and God-slaying Sun flew into the air and waved their hands. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 enormous pillars of light emerged from the 4 corners of the Heavenly Star Plaza. Chi. After the beam of light flew into the air, it split into 2, then into 4. In a short time, the Heavenly Star Array was set up. All the experts were trapped in the Heavenly Star Array. Diwentian, why are you still not surrendering? Aqua Moon Fairy's eyes stared fixedly at the young martial artist in blue clothes in midair, and she shouted in a low voice, unless your cultivation has reached the Saint Immortal realm, it's absolutely impossible for you to escape under the Heavenly Star formation. Saint Immortal? The corner of the blue-clothed man's mouth curled up, and he said with a faint smile, even if I'm not a Saint Immortal, I'm not afraid of this Heavenly Star formation. True Monarch Kwangshen. The next moment, the man in blue roared, if we don't act now, when will we? Bang! Hearing the blue-robed man's words, True Lord Kwangshen clenched his right fist and punched at the god-slaying sun beside him. Because True Monarch Kwangshen had hidden himself very well, the God-Slayer child wasn't able to stop him. A crisp sound rang out. The god-slaying sun was sent flying. Coincidentally, the god-slaying sun was sent flying in the direction of Ningyu. Attack! Ningyu had planned to break through to the virtual immortal realm, but the sudden turn of events forced him to suppress the energy in his body. Ningyu faced the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai, while Su Ming went to help the god-slaying sun. Die! The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai roared when they saw Ningyu charging at them. Noisy! Ningyu flipped his wrist and summoned the red demon sword. Although the red demon hadn't broken through to the half-step peerless immortal realm in half an hour, the red demon sword's grade had reached the peak of an ingot. Using the red demon's sword against the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai was very convenient for Ningyu. Crack! Crack! 2 crisp sounds rang out consecutively. The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai were killed in an instant. Even without ascending to the virtual immortal realm, Ningyu's overall strength was on par with a mid-stage peerless immortal. The bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai, on the other hand, were only at the peak of early-stage peerless immortal. When fighting with them, Ningyu did not need to use his full strength at all and could easily kill them. This was all thanks to the energy in the thin cultivator's body and the red demon's sword that had reached the peak of an ingot. Otherwise, Ningyu would have to go through a lot of trouble to kill them. Gasp! Su Ming had just caught the god-slaying sun when he saw Ningyu kill the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai. Without a doubt, Su Ming sucked in a breath of cold air. He'd thought he'd overestimated Ningyu, but he'd still underestimated Ningyu. Ningyu's strength had already surpassed him by far too much. He only had his current fighting strength because he devoured the blood essence of peerless immortals. After a while, his fighting strength would drop to the virtual immortal realm. When that time came, even 100 of him wouldn't be Ningyu's match. Ningyu, this is for you. Su Ming gritted his teeth, fished out a jade bottle, and tossed it to Ningyu. Slap! Ningyu first tossed the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai's corpses into the red demon's sword, then caught the bottle firmly. Blood essence? With just a glance, Ningyu could tell that the jade bottle contained blood essence. The blood essence of a peerless immortal. Good luck! Su Ming cupped his fists at Ningyu, then brought the god-slaying sun to the pavilion. The god-slaying sun was gravely injured. If he didn't receive treatment in time, the consequences would be dire. Wait! Seeing that Su Ming was about to leave, Ningyu threw the jade bottle back and said, "Keep the blood essence." Diwentian's attack on the Brilliant Void Alliance was planned for a long time. You don't have the strength to defend yourself, so it's very likely that you'll be killed. As for the God-slaying sun, Ningyu looked at the God-slaying sun in Su Ming's arms and said hesitantly, "He's gravely injured. If we don't treat him in time, he might fall ill." "Are you sure you can cure him?" Su Ming was surprised. The God-slaying sun was indeed gravely injured. True Lord Crazed God's sneak attack had injured his organs. Su Ming didn't believe Ningyu could cure the God-slaying sun. "Cut the crap." Ningyu waved his hand. "If you don't want to watch the God-slaying sun die, then get the hell out of here." "All right." After a moment's hesitation, Su Ming chose to believe Ningyu. He carefully placed the God-slaying sun on the ground and turned to leave. Whoosh! However, when Su Ming turned to leave, he tossed the jade bottle containing the blood essence to Ningyu. Crack! Since Su Ming was giving him the blood essence a second time, Ningyu didn't refuse. However, Ningyu didn't think too much of it. He forced a drop of the divine war body's blood from his heart and dropped it in the God-slaying sun's mouth. Fortunately, Ningyu had awakened the divine war body's bloodline to its fullest. Otherwise, no matter how much blood he forced out, he wouldn't be able to help the God-slaying sun. Buzz buzz. The divine war body's blood was indeed extraordinary. Chapter 22:16. This is the blood of a fully awakened body of the war god. Killing God's son used his perception to sense the situation in his body. Suddenly, his eyes widened and his face was full of shock. To be honest, the killer god's son had basically given up when he was ambushed by true immortal Kwangshan. He knew that since true immortal Kwangshan was Diwentian's man, it meant that he was well prepared. After being ambushed by true immortal Kwangshan, no one else would be able to heal him unless the Brilliant Void Alliance's leader personally intervened. But the Alliance leader didn't have the time. Diwentian had brought many Peak Essence Immortal and 2 Peak Peerless Immortal Skyfiends to attack the Brilliant Void Alliance. The Alliance leader had to deal with the 2 Peak Peerless Immortal Skyfiends and didn't have time for the killer god's son. Shueihua Fairy, on the other hand, knew medicine. However, she was being held up by true immortal Kwangshan and couldn't do anything. Under such circumstances, the killer god's son didn't have any hope. Who would have thought? Ningyu had actually awakened 100% of the war god's body bloodline and used the blood essence from his heart to heal his internal organs. Words cannot express my gratitude. The killer god's son wasn't an indecisive person. He cupped his fists at Ningyu and said, "I'll come for you after I take care of true immortal Kwangshan." Swoosh! The killer god's son flashed as he spoke, ready to charge out. However, before the killer god's son could leave, Ningyu flicked his wrist and tossed out a drop of blood. "You haven't fully recovered from your internal injuries. Take this drop of body of the war god's son in case you need it." If Ningyu was given more time, he could definitely heal the killer god's son. However, the battle was intense and the killer god's son had to join the fray as soon as possible. Otherwise, Shueihua Fairy wouldn't be able to hold on. Because true immortal Kwangshan wasn't the only one attacking Shueihua Fairy. There was another peerless immortal Skyfiend as well. Fighting 1 against 2, Shueihua Fairy could only hang on bitterly. Rumble! The killer god's son immediately relieved the pressure on Shueihua Fairy's shoulders. Not dead. True immortal Kwangshan frowned when he saw the killer god's son. "You've been hit by my killer god fist." "Humph. True immortal Kwangshan, I didn't expect you to be such a person." "Die." The killing god's son let out a cold snort, then rushed straight toward Supreme Kwangshan. "If I can hurt you once, I can hurt you again." True Lord Kwangshan smirked as he looked at the approaching god-slaying sun. Master has prepared for a long time to attack the Kuan-Su Alliance. After today, the entire Kuan-Su Alliance will be razed to the ground. Cut the crap. Let's see who's more powerful. The killing god's son growled. Bang! As soon as they started fighting, the god-slaying son was at a disadvantage. After all, the injuries of the god-killing son had not completely healed, and his combat power was much lower than when he was at his peak. Even the god-slaying prince at his peak was no match for crazed god-perfected immortal, let alone now. Hold on for 10 minutes. Fairy Shueiwe sent a secret transmission to the divine killing child, then unleashed her trump card at the peerless immortal celestial demon in front of her. As long as they could take care of the peerless immortal level celestial demons, Goddess Shueiwe would be able to help kill the divine children. At the same time in the arena, after the god-slaying son left, Ningyu immediately sat down cross-legged and swallowed the blood Su Ming had given him. Hiss, hiss. The blood essence of a peerless immortal was extremely effective. As soon as he tossed the blood essence into his mouth, Ningyu felt a terrifying energy enter his body through his throat. This energy showed signs of triggering the Great Tribulation of the virtual immortal realm. This was a critical period. How could Ningyu undergo the Great Tribulation of the virtual immortal realm? Putting aside whether he could survive it or not, there were many people here. If he underwent the tribulation here, he would be greatly affected. Whoosh! Just as Ningyu was secretly suppressing the energy in his body, a figure in blue suddenly appeared in front of him. Ningyu, we meet again. This figure was none other than Di Wentian. The corners of Di Wentian's lips curled up slightly. He said to Ningyu, "You really didn't disappoint me. You can even kill my clone. You do disappoint me." As Ningyu suppressed his energy, he shook his head and said, "I've already stolen 2 of your doppelganger's elixirs and killed one of your doppelgangers. Why didn't you learn from your mistakes and send another doppelganger?" Ningyu saw everything clearly. Although the figure before him looked like Di Wentian, Ningyu was certain that this was not Di Wentian's main body. Just like the thin cultivator, this was a clone. Humph. So what if you're a clone? I can kill you all the same. The blue-robed clone harumphed and leaped into the air, charging at Ningyu at a terrifying speed. Although the blue-robed cultivator was Di Wentian's clone, his cultivation had reached the terrifying peak virtual immortal realm. Ever since Di Wentian ascended to peerless immortal, his clone's strength had risen along with him. The combined strength of a peak virtual immortal clone was comparable to a mid-stage peerless immortal. Idiot! Ningyu drew the red demon sword and slashed through the air. Crack! The gigantic sword aura split the void in half. The power of Ningyu's attack was at its peak. Originally, the Red Fiend had been devouring the bald warrior and Zhu Minghai. However, upon receiving Ningyu's instructions, it immediately stopped devouring them. Instead, it transferred all the energy within the bald warrior and Zhu Minghai's bodies into the Red Fiend's sword. The power of this attack was equivalent to the bald cultivator and Zhu Minghai self-detonating at the same time. Damn it! The blue-robed clone cursed under his breath. He'd thought that killing Ningyu would be a piece of cake. But now, he had to admit that he'd underestimated Ningyu. Kill him! With a low growl, the blue-robed clone opened his mouth and spat out a beam of cold light. Crack! The cold light and the sword ray collided. A crisp sound rang out. Then, the clone's cold light shattered, and the sword ray Ningyu had slashed out continued its attack at the clone. I'm so angry! The clone's nose was crooked from anger. He went for wool and came home shorn. The blue-robed clone was very frustrated. If his clone died in battle, then Di Wentian, who was fighting with the brilliant Void Alliance Master in the Void, would definitely be greatly affected. See you later. At the thought of this, the blue-robed clone immediately turned around and burrowed into the void. Where are you going? How could Ningyu allow the blue-robed clone to escape? He leaped up and charged out with the red demon's sword in his hand. Chi-chi! The blue-robed clone was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had entered the void. Ningyu arrived soon after. Puss! However, as soon as he entered the void, Ningyu gasped. he discovered that there were 4 martial artists fighting fiercely in the void. 4 martial artists, 1 against 3. One of them was in his 60s or 70s, and his white robe was fluttering. The other 3 martial artists were in their 20s or 30s. Di Wentian. How sharp were Ning Yu's eyes! Chapter 22:17. Clone, come here. Di Wentian berated without even looking at Ning Yu. Yes. The blue-robed clone dared not tarry. He quickly tore through the void and sped up. Humph! How could Ning Yu give up such a juicy piece of meat that was already in his mouth? He snorted coldly and tossed the red demon sword in his hand. Swoosh! The red demon sword was so fast that it only took a second to arrive before the blue-robed clone. The sword pierced through the blue-clothed doppelganger's heart without any deviation. Fresh blood sprayed from the clone's mouth. The clone's aura plummeted from peak virtual immortal to ancestral immortal. Devour! The Red Fiend, who was hidden within the Red Fiend's sword, immediately unleashed a violent devouring power, frantically devouring the blue-clothed avatar. In a short time, the clone was devoured until only a skeleton was left. As soon as the clone was killed, Di Wentian's main body, who was fighting the white-robed elder, spat out a mouthful of blood. He was greatly affected. Bam! The white-robed elder seized the opportunity and punched Di Wentian in the chest. The immense force directly caused Di Wentian to be flung several feet back. A crisp sound rang out. The bluestone floor was pulverized by Di Wentian. Many thanks. After defeating Di Wentian with a single move, the white-robed elder immediately sent a voice transmission to Ning Yu. Di Wentian's strength has fallen to half of his peak. I'll leave him to you. No matter what, you have to hold him off for 2 hours. As soon as he finished speaking, the white-robed elder turned around and launched a terrifying attack at the 2-peak peerless immortal Skyfiends. Trying to hold me off? Di Wentian quickly calmed down. After all, he was a peerless immortal. Ning Yu, on the other hand, was only a half-step elemental immortal. Between the two of them, there was an entire grade difference. Even if his strength was halved, Di Wentian was still confident that he could easily kill Ning Yu. Wrong. Ning Yu sheathed the red demon sword. I'm not trying to hold you off, I'm trying to kill you. Ah. It was as if Di Wentian had heard the funniest joke in the world. He first tilted his head back and laughed maniacally. After that, his tone changed as he coldly stated, If you want to kill me, you need to have the strength to do so. The word attainment was uttered. Di Wentian hurriedly dashed out. Lifting his right leg, he ruthlessly kicked out at Ning Yu's head. Staring at Di Wentian, who was rushing towards him, Ning Yu's countenance turned extremely heavy. With his current strength, it was indeed extremely difficult for him to contend against Di Wentian. Leave Stellar Sky City. In an instant, Ning Yu thought of a countermeasure. After leaving Stellar Sky City, he would trigger the Grand Tribulation of the Essence Immortal Realm and use it to deal with Di Wentian. Di Wentian was a peerless immortal, and his overall strength was comparable to a peak peerless immortal. Although he was injured and his strength was halved, he could still easily kill a late-stage peerless immortal. As for Ning Yu, after devouring Su Ming's blood, he was merely at the peak of the middle stage of peerless immortal. It was already difficult enough to face a late-stage peerless immortal, let alone Di Wentian. Let's go. Ning Yu was not an indecisive person. He immediately tore open the void and dove in. Where do you think you're going? Di Wentian yelled. Ning Yu had ruined his plans again and again. How could he tolerate this? If Ning Yu hadn't stolen 2 of his Emperor Immortal Pill clones, his cultivation wouldn't have been early-stage Peerless Immortal, but mid-stage Peerless Immortal. That was why Di Wentian really wanted to kill Ning Yu. Crack, crack. At its peak, the Stellar Sky Formation could indeed stop a peak Peerless Immortal. However, the current Stellar Sky Formation was in tatters, and its power was greatly diminished. In its current state, the stellar sky formation naturally couldn't stop Ning Yu and Di Wentian. Whoosh, whoosh. The two of them sped out of Stellar Sky City, one in front and one behind. Where do you think you're going? Di Wentian yelled as he chased after them. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Wait a little longer. Ning Yu didn't respond to Di Wentian. Instead, he was calculating the distance. As long as he was a certain distance away from Stellar Sky City, he could stop. As for now, no matter how much Di Wentian cursed, Ning Yu didn't respond. Damn it! Di Wentian cursed inwardly as they got further and further away from Stellar Sky City. Di Wentian was very worried as well. He'd planned for a long time to take down the Brilliant Void Alliance. He'd thought he could easily take down the Brilliant Void Alliance, but the Alliance head strength had increased tremendously to peak Peerless Immortal. The two peak Peerless Immortal celestial demons he'd brought with him hadn't gained any advantage against the Alliance head. Di Wentian was worried that something would happen if he didn't return. However, he wasn't willing to return just like that. Because when he lowered his speed, Ning Yu lowered his speed. When he increased his speed, Ning Yu increased his speed. In short, Ning Yu kept a certain distance from him, which made him salivate. It's about time. At that moment, Ning Yu suddenly stopped and looked around. He turned back and said, Di Wentian, since you want to kill me so badly, I'll give you a chance. Give me a chance? Di Wentian was taken aback. He frowned. Have you lost your mind? Hee. Ning Yu smiled. Then, energy surged out of his body and triggered his great virtual immortal tribulation. Rumble. In midair, black tribulation clouds appeared in an instant. I'm going to die. Di Wentian cursed inwardly at the sudden change. Swoosh. Without time to think, Di Wentian tried to flee. At his level, there was no need to rush his great virtual immortal tribulation. Even if he stayed in the great virtual immortal tribulation, he could deal with it calmly. But this great virtual immortal tribulation was Ning Yu's. Given how insane Ning Yu was, the power of his great virtual immortal tribulation would definitely rival the great peerless immortal tribulation of ordinary martial artists. Who would dare to stay in it for long? Boom, 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 boom. However, before Di Wentian could leave, 4 terrifying tribulation clouds came crashing down from the void. I'm sorry. Please help me block some tribulation clouds. Ning Yu's lips curled up. He said coldly, although the power of the great virtual immortal tribulation will double with you around, it's totally worth it to drag you down with me. Lunatic. Di Wentian looked a little terrified. Ning Yu's performance was too crazy. The two of them were in the tribulation clouds, which increased the power of the tribulation clouds by several times. This could be seen from the first 4 tribulation cloud. The power of each tribulation cloud was equivalent to the full force attack of a mid-stage peerless immortal. Rumble. As he was thinking, the 4 tribulation clouds came crashing down. 2 of them were aimed at Ning Yu, while the other 2 were aimed at Di Wentian. Crack. Crack. Faced with 2 mid-stage peerless immortal tribulation clouds, Ning Yu used his fists to smash them. Crack. Crack. Di Wentian and Ning Yu did not do anything different. He kicked out twice, shattering the 2 tribulation cloud. Ning Yu, I'm not done with you. Chapter 22:18. There are too many who want to grind my bones to dust. Ning Yu shrugged at Di Wentian. Who do you think you are? You. Di Wentian gritted his teeth at Ning Yu's taunts. However, Di Wentian knew very well that he couldn't afford to clash with Ning Yu right now. The tribulation clouds had already locked onto the 2 of them. The first 4 mid-stage peerless immortal tribulation clouds were just appetizers. The truly terrifying ones were yet to come. Rumble. Reality proved that. Di Wentian's calm was very wise. In the next moment, the void trembled. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dozens of terrifying tribulation clouds appeared in the void, and smashed down fiercely. Gasp! Di Wentian sucked in a cold breath when he sensed the power of the tribulation clouds. Peak mid-stage peerless immortal. The power of the tribulation clouds had risen from mid-stage peerless immortal to peak mid-stage peerless immortal. Shatter! Di Wentian didn't dare tarry. He hurriedly infused his immortal chi into his fists and punched with both fists. Crack, crack, crack! As Di Wentian's fists punched out, the tribulation clouds hurtling toward him shattered one after another. Compared to this, Ning Yu's actions weren't much inferior. However, Ning Yu didn't use his immortal chi. Instead, he activated his body of the war god and used his physical strength to resist the tribulation cloud. Crack, crack! Crack, crack! Crack, crack! Ning Yu had fully awakened his body of the war god, so he could resist peak peerless immortal mid-stage tribulation clouds with just his physical strength alone. Not long after, the second wave of tribulation clouds was completely shattered by Ning Yu and Di Wentian. Whoosh! The tribulation clouds came in wave after wave. Just as the second wave of tribulation clouds dispersed, the third wave of tribulation clouds arrived in response. The power of the third wave wasn't much greater than the second, but it was much greater in number. Ning Yu and Di Wentian were both visibly moved. When facing the first two waves of tribulation clouds, they were still able to hold back. However, when dealing with the third wave of tribulation clouds, they didn't dare to hold back in the slightest, and they used their full strength. Rumble! The tribulation clouds continued to descend. Ning Yu and Di Wentian were completely immersed in resisting the tribulation cloud. Drip, drip. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. In this half an hour, both Ning Yu and Di Wentian were struck by the tribulation clouds to varying degrees. Fortunately, Ning Yu and Di Wentian's combat prowess were extremely high. Even if they were struck by the tribulation clouds, they would be able to recover very quickly. Gotcha! After the third wave of tribulation clouds ended, Ning Yu and Di Wentian didn't even have the time to rest when the space in front of them broke apart once more. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 waist-thick tribulation clouds descended from the 9 heavens. Peak peerless immortal? Ning Yu was dumbfounded. Di Wentian was dumbfounded. There were only 2 tribulation clouds in the 4th wave. However, both tribulation clouds were as powerful as peak peerless immortals. At his peak, Di Wentian could fight peak peerless immortals, but after being struck by the brilliant Void's Alliance leader, his strength had already fallen to late-stage peerless immortals. Therefore, when faced with this tribulation cloud, his eyes were filled with despair. On the other hand, Ning Yu. His expression was no better than Di Wentian's. Screw it! At this critical moment, Ning Yu activated the body of the war god bloodline to its limit. He used the bloodline and the energy stored in his body to forcefully resist the tribulation cloud that was hurtling towards him. Ning Yu was very clear about this. As long as he could withstand this tribulation cloud, it would mean that his great tribulation of the virtual immortal realm was over. His cultivation would also rise to the level of a virtual immortal. Of course, what Ning Yu cared about was not the increase in his cultivation, but the tribulation liquid. The tribulation liquid produced during his great tribulation of the ancestral immortal realm was already very terrifying. One could only imagine. How terrifying would the tribulation liquid of the great tribulation of the virtual immortal realm be? Gotcha! Even though Ning Yu gave it his all, his bones still made cracking sounds when he came into contact with the tribulation cloud, as if they were about to fall apart. Ah! Ning Yu raised his head and yelled. He then began to burn his blood essence to increase his combat strength. It was basically impossible for him to withstand the tribulation cloud of the peak peerless immortal level with just the energy in his body and the body of the war god bloodline. Therefore, Ning Yu had to burn his blood essence and even his life force. Chi. As he burned his blood essence, Ning Yu's aura soared rapidly. In a short period of time, Ning Yu's aura had already soared to the late-stage peerless immortal level. Burn again. Ning Yu gritted his teeth and immediately began burning his life force. Swoosh. Even after burning his blood essence, Ning Yu's appearance did not change much. However, after burning his life force, Ning Yu's appearance underwent a drastic change. At first, his hair turned white. Then, his face wrinkled. Crack. Hard work paid off. After Ning Yu burned his blood essence and life force, the tribulation cloud he was facing finally cracked. Again. With a savage expression, Ning Yu continued to burn his blood essence and life force even faster. Another 2 hours passed just like that. Splat. Only when Ning Yu spat out a mouthful of blood did the tribulation cloud finally shatter. Thud. Ning Yu, on the other hand, fell backward and fell to the ground. Now's my chance. On the other side, Di Wentian shouted excitedly when he saw Ning Yu fall to the ground. Bang. However, Di Wentian had celebrated far too early. He'd barely shouted when the tribulation cloud struck him. Damn it. Helpless, Di Wentian could only give up on Ning Yu for now and focus on fighting the tribulation cloud. Di Wentian's strength wasn't considered weak. In fact, from a certain perspective, he was much stronger than Ning Yu. After the tribulation cloud scattered, Di Wentian's aura was weak, but he didn't fall to the ground. Ah! Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Di Wentian threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Ning Yu, to think that you would have such a day. As he spoke, Di Wentian moved his feet, walking towards Ning Yu step by step. Di Wentian was extremely excited. In fact, he'd already thought of how to deal with Ning Yu. He'd refine Ning Yu into a puppet and let him order him around all year round. Because this was the only way he could vent the hatred in his heart. Voila! However, before Di Wentian could reach Ning Yu's side, a gigantic pool of lightning appeared in the air. Lightning tribulation liquid. How intelligent was Di Wentian? The moment the lightning pool appeared, he already knew that it must be the lightning tribulation liquid. Consider yourself lucky. Di Wentian glared at Ning Yu fiercely. After that, he stomped on the ground and rushed towards the lightning pool in the air. I'm going to die. As he got closer to the lightning pool, Di Wentian's expression became more and more exaggerated. Gulp. In the end, Di Wentian couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. There was no other reason. The quality of the lightning tribulation liquid in the lightning pool was several levels higher than the one he'd produced when he ascended to peerless immortal. The heavens are on my side. Di Wentian was very excited. According to his estimation, if he could devour the lightning tribulation liquid in the lightning pool, his strength would quickly recover to its peak. In fact, he still had a high chance of breaking through to mid-stage peerless immortal. I didn't expect his talent to be so high. Chapter 22:19. As the Prince of the Sky Fiends, Di Wentian grasped an extremely frightening secret art. He could devour the talents of others for his own use. Actually, Ning Yu had already grasped this secret art when he was in the lower planes. However, the secret art that Ning Yu grasped paled in comparison to Di Wentian's. This was because the secret art that Ning Yu grasped could only devour the talents of others. However, the secret art that Di Wentian grasped could devour the cultivation of others. To put it simply, if Di Wentian could devour Ning Yu's talents, then his strength would be equivalent to his and Ning Yu's combined. Think about it. Ning Yu, who had advanced to the virtual immortal realm, had overall strength comparable to a late-stage peerless immortal, or even a peerless immortal. As for Di Wentian, his overall strength was comparable to a peerless immortal. With their combined strength, even if they encountered a half-step Saint Immortal, they could hold their ground. Of course, they could only hold their ground, not defeat. However, this did not affect Di Wentian's excitement. Let me devour the tribulation fluid first. Di Wentian leaped into the lightning pool and devoured the tribulation fluid madly. At the same time, Ningyu had already regained consciousness. As his body was weak and could not muster any strength, Ningyu did not make a sound and pretended to be unconscious. Hong Mo, Di Wentian will definitely come to deal with me later. How confident are you that you can defeat him if you suddenly attack? Ningyu secretly contacted Hong Mo, wanting to launch a sneak attack on Di Wentian. Not even 10% confidence. Hong Mo shook his head and said helplessly, I have 50% confidence in launching a sneak attack on the current Di Wentian because his strength has decreased greatly. However, once he finishes devouring the tribulation fluid, even if you and I join forces, we will not be able to hurt him at all. Damn it! Ningyu cursed in his heart. He did not expect that after going through so much trouble to undergo the tribulation, the final benefit would be stolen by Di Wentian. That was the tribulation fluid. I have to do something. Ningyu's eyes turned as he thought of a countermeasure. Based on the current situation, once Di Wentian swallowed the lightning tribulation liquid and recovered to his peak state, he would definitely die. Oh right. Suddenly, Ningyu had a thought and immediately took out the leftover materials from the lightning pool and the water moon fan. First, the leftover materials from the lightning pool were tossed into the water moon fan. After that, Ningyu instructed the Red Devils to take the initiative and attack Di Wentian. Whoosh! The Red Devil did not hesitate. He immediately fused with the Red Devil sword and dashed towards Di Wentian. Initially, Di Wentian was in the midst of devouring the lightning tribulation liquid. But very swiftly after, he sensed a shadow rushing towards him. You really did not faint. Di Wentian abruptly burst out from the pool of lightning. Both of his hands waved about, instantly grabbing onto the hilt of the Red Devil sword. Xiao! After grabbing the Red Devil sword, Di Wentian leaped into the air and instantly arrived beside Ningyu. Originally, I wanted to devour the heavenly tribulation fluid first before dealing with you. Who would have thought that you would seek death yourself? You can't blame me for this, Di Wentian said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, Di Wentian raised his right hand and abruptly slapped Ningyu's head. Boom! Ningyu's expression changed drastically. Because he could feel a terrifying devouring energy flowing through Di Wentian's palm into his sea of consciousness. To be able to be devoured by me, consider it your good fortune of 8 lifetimes. Di Wentian sat down cross-legged and began to devour Ningyu wholeheartedly. As Di Wentian was devouring Ningyu, he casually sealed the Red Devil sword and tossed it aside. Di Wentian's action gave the Red Devil a great opportunity. Buzz buzz buzz. Previously, the Red Devil had devoured the thin cultivator's silvery white flying sword. His cultivation had directly advanced from peak virtual immortal to half-step peerless immortal. Di Wentian's casual seal was naturally not a problem for him. It did not take long for the Red Devil to undo the seal. Hold it! However, just as the Red Devil was about to rescue Ningyu, Ningyu's words suddenly rang in his ears. Di Wentian wants to devour me, so I'll just go with the flow. Ningyu calmed down. He had never feared anyone when it came to devouring. Although his aura had fallen to the freezing point, his devouring ability had not weakened in the slightest. In fact, after advancing to early-stage virtual immortal, his devouring ability had grown even stronger. Ningyu decided to keep quiet for now and find out what Di Wentian was up to, because he discovered that Di Wentian wasn't just devouring his energy. It seemed like he was devouring his talent as well. Why were you devouring my talent? To avoid arousing Di Wentian's suspicions, Ningyu pretended to be terrified. Devouring your talent? Di Wentian's lips curled up. Not only do I want to devour your talent, but I also want to devour your strength. Devour strength? Ningyu was stunned for a moment before shaking his head. That's impossible. At most, you can only devour my energy, not my strength. Ha ha ha! Di Wentian inclined his head and laughed maniacally. In this world, nothing is impossible. In our heavenly devil clan, not everyone can devour the talent and strength of others. Only those with the bloodline of the royal clan are able to do this. I don't believe that there's such a technique. Ningyu continued to shake his head. You don't believe me? Hee hee, it's fine if you don't believe me. When I devour everything from you, you'll naturally choose to believe me. Di Wentian shrugged his shoulders and smiled. Good chance. Seeing Di Wentian's actions, Ningyu's face lit up with joy. He immediately blew the horn to counterattack. What? How is this possible? The sudden change caused Di Wentian's eyes to narrow as his face was filled with disbelief. No matter what, Di Wentian would never have thought that the heavily injured Ningyu's devouring power actually didn't retreat. Instead, it increased by several times. Nothing is impossible. As long as you believe in it in your heart, everything is possible. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and smiled faintly. Originally, if you devoured the lightning tribulation fluid obediently, I wouldn't be able to do anything to you. But you were foolish and actually came to devour me. Since that's the case, I can only refuse. Swish. At the same time, the red fiend broke free from Di Wentian's seal and charged towards the lightning pool in the distance. Going over together with the red fiend was the water moon fan and the leftover materials of the lightning pool. After a period of time, the lightning pool would disappear. The red fiend's mission was to take away all the lightning tribulation fluid inside before the lightning pool disappeared and store it into the water moon fan. Infuriating. Seeing the red fiend's actions, Di Wentian's entire body was trembling. He knew that he fell into Ningyu's trap. The him now was very regretful. He regretted that he didn't devour the lightning tribulation fluid first, but chose to give up halfway and come to devour Ningyu. It was already too late to think about anything. The plan now was to compete in devouring power with Ningyu and see who would win. When on the Heavenly Stars City's arena, his clone lost to the combined forces of Ningyu and the Red Fiend. But now, he might not be defeated. Because the Red Fiend was currently snatching the lightning tribulation fluid and had no time to care about anything else. Therefore, this time, it was him facing off with Ningyu alone. Chapter 22:20. Devour for me. Di Wentian raised his head and roared. The devouring power in his body surged out crazily and entered Ningyu's body through his palm. Facing Di Wentian's frenzied devouring power, Ningyu's expression was calm and indiscernible. In terms of pure devouring power, Ningyu was not any weaker than Di Wentian. In fact, after advancing to the early stage virtual immortal stage, Ningyu's devouring power was even stronger than Di Wentian's. Ningyu was very clear about what he wanted. He wanted to compete with Di Wentian in terms of devouring power while buying time. As long as Hong Mo collected the lightning tribulation fluid, Ningyu would be able to use it to deal with Di Wentian. Damn it! After devouring for a full 10 minutes, Di Wentian was still unable to gain any advantage. Di Wentian could not help but curse. As Ningyu's devouring power was slightly stronger than his, he could only do so after Ningyu retracted his devouring power. Otherwise, he would be trapped here forever. However, Ningyu was no fool. Why would he retract his devouring power? Because in terms of devouring power, Ningyu was slightly stronger than him. At the very least, he had the upper hand. But in terms of combat power, Ningyu could not be mentioned in the same breath as him. Unless Ningyu was an idiot who had lost his mind and lost his mind. Otherwise, he would definitely not retract his devouring power. Drip, drip. As time passed, the energy in Di Wentian's body slowly moved towards Ningyu's body. Although the speed was slow, if this continued, Di Wentian would definitely lose. Fight! Di Wentian naturally would not sit and wait for death. TSK. He started to burn his blood essence and life force to increase his devouring power to the maximum and turn the tables. Pucci. Diwentian's actions had a very good effect. Under the enhancement of burning his blood essence and life force, his devouring power was instantly strengthened by several times. Ningyu was careless and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Hold on. It was a critical moment. Ningyu also burned his life and blood essence, strengthening his devouring power once again. Damn it, just a little bit more. Diwentian felt like cursing out loud. All was for naught. Just as he was about to succeed, who would have thought that Ningyu would also burn his blood essence and life? Xiao. At this moment, the Red Fiend returned with the water moon fan and the leftover materials from the lightning pool. Red Devil would not attack Diwentian. Leaving aside the fact that the success rate was extremely low, even if he managed to injure Diwentian, it wouldn't bring them any benefits at all. If Diwentian wanted to separate from Ningyu, there were only two ways. The first method was naturally for Ningyu to give up. The second method was to receive an external attack. If the Red Devil attacked Diwentian, there was a high possibility that it would disrupt the balance between Diwentian and Ningyu, allowing Diwentian to break free. Give me the lightning tribulation fluid. Seeing the Red Fiend return, Ningyu's face lit up with joy as he hurriedly said, "Then enter the Red Fiend's sword." Although he was happy, Ningyu did not lose his rationality. The Red Fiend's mission had been completed. He could only rely on himself now. If he allowed the Red Fiend to stay, Diwentian would inevitably take advantage of the situation. Swish. The Red Fiend casually threw the water moon fan and the leftover materials from the lightning pool to Ningyu, then followed Ningyu's instructions and entered the Red Fiend's sword. Gulp, gulp. Right in front of Diwentian, Ningyu poured the lightning tribulation fluid from the water moon fan into his mouth. Tsk tsk. As soon as the lightning tribulation fluid entered his mouth, Ningyu felt his aura skyrocketing. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Ningyu's strength returned to its peak. How terrifying would Ningyu's strength be at his peak? When he was a half-step virtual immortal, Ningyu's combat strength was comparable to an ordinary mid-stage peerless immortal, or even a late-stage peerless immortal. Now that he was an early-stage virtual immortal, one could imagine that Ningyu's combat strength would at least reach peak late-stage peerless immortal. Ningyu, how about we make a deal? Diwentian's eyes flickered as he gradually regained his composure. I'll tell you how to devour talent and strength, and you let me go. I'm not an idiot. I can completely devour your memories, Ningyu said coolly. I know you can devour my memories, but you don't know where the other princes are. Diwentian gritted his teeth. Let me go, and I can trick the princes from the other alliances over. If you devour me, your strength will only increase to peak peerless immortal. If you can devour the princes from the other alliances, your strength will at least reach the Saint Immortal level. Are you serious? Ningyu raised an eyebrow and stared at Diwentian with interest. Yes, it's true. As if grasping at straws, Diwentian hurriedly added, the other princes are all very strong, and they've plundered a lot of resources. If you devour them, you'll obtain a lot of resources. Very tempting. Ningyu took a deep breath. How about this? Let go of your consciousness and let me control you. You! Diwentian's voice was cold. He made a deal with Ningyu to survive, not to be controlled by Ningyu. Now, Ningyu still wanted to control him. How could he not be angry? Ningyu, don't force me. If you push me too far, I won't let you obtain the devouring method even if I have to self-destruct. Diwentian said harshly. Self-destruct? I'm sorry, you might have been able to just now, but you don't even have the right to do so now. Ningyu raised his right leg and kicked Diwentian in the chest. Bang! The immense force directly caused Diwentian to be flung several feet back. Ah! Diwentian wasn't enraged by the kick. Instead, he threw his head back and laughed. I finally broke free from you. I may not be as good as you in terms of devouring power, but in terms of combat strength, even two of you are not my match. Ningyu looked at Di Wentian and shrugged. Is that so? Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura emanated from Ningyu's body. How is this possible? Di Wentian's eyes widened in disbelief when he sensed the aura emanating from Ningyu. Peak late stage peerless immortal. Ningyu's aura had reached the terrifying peak late stage peerless immortal realm. How could Ningyu soar from his weakened state to the peak late stage peerless immortal realm in just a few dozen seconds? Di Wentian had also devoured some tribulation liquid, but the effects couldn't have been this terrifying. Unless, did Ningyu have other hidden cards? Oh, I forgot to tell you. Ningyu put away the water moon fan and the leftover materials from the lightning pool and rubbed his nose. With the war god physique awakened to 100% of its bloodline power, its speed of devouring tribulation liquid is many times faster than yours. I don't believe it. Di Wentian roared and charged out. Swoosh. Turning into a blur, Di Wentian punched at Ningyu's head. Although Di Wentian hadn't recovered to his peak, he had devoured tribulation liquid before. His current strength was comparable to a mid-stage peerless immortal. Crack, crack. The result was regrettable. Ningyu's strength had already reached the peak late-stage peerless immortal realm. Against a peak mid-stage peerless immortal like Di Wentian, he naturally defeated him with a single move. Bang! Chapter 22-21. Shwa. Ningyu didn't stop. He stomped on the ground and chased after Di Wentian. Hit the snake where it hurts, don't hold back. Di Wentian was the prince of the sky demons. Be it his strength, talent or trump cards, they were extremely terrifying. If he was given the chance, the consequences would be dire. Therefore, Ningyu dashed out the moment his attack landed. But, in an instant, Ningyu appeared in front of Di Wentian. He extended his right hand and slapped Di Wentian's head. Chi-chi. A terrifying devouring force flowed through Ningyu's palm and into Di Wentian's body. Ah! Di Wentian screamed like a pig being butchered. Ningyu, you will die a horrible death. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Di Wentian screamed hysterically. Sorry, but you can't even become a ghost in front of me. Ningyu shrugged, and then he increased the devouring force once more. What Ningyu first devoured was not Di Wentian's talent, nor was it Di Wentian's energy. It was Di Wentian's memories. Di Wentian knew how to devour the strength of others. This was what Ningyu really needed. As he continued to devour, Ningyu frowned more and more. In the end, his expression turned solemn. Di Wentian did know how to devour the strength of others. However, the success rate was extremely low. Di Wentian relied on the fact that he was the prince of the sky demons. Coupled with the fact that he had devoured the Emperor Immortal Pill, his success rate was raised to 60%. Ningyu was different. Ningyu had not devoured the Emperor Immortal Pill, nor did he have the bloodline of a sky demon. If he devoured the strength of others, the success rate was at most 20%. A 20% success rate wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. Ningyu wasn't sure if he should devour or not. It would be fine if he succeeded. But if he failed, only death awaited him. I wonder if the bloodline of the war god physique can help me increase the success rate. Ningyu's face darkened. After pondering for a while, Ningyu finally decided to take a gamble. Actually, the main reason why Ningyu made this decision was because he had obtained some information from Di Wentian's memories. While Di Wentian was attacking the Kuan-Su Alliance, the other princes were already attacking the Heaven Palace Alliance and the Spiritual Tao Alliance. The Heavenly Palace Alliance, the Spirit Path Alliance, and the Brilliant Void Alliance. These three alliances formed a triangular formation. If any of the alliances were to be attacked, the other two alliances would be able to send reinforcements immediately. When the Brilliant Void Alliance was attacked, The Spirit Tao Alliance and the Heaven Palace Alliance did not send anyone over. From this, one could see. The odds were stacked against them. If the Heavenly Palace Alliance and the Spirit Path Alliance were breached, then even if they managed to defend the Kuan-Su Alliance, the outcome would still be tragic. Hong Mo, protect me. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu tossed out the red demon sword and all of his transcendent artifacts. Cut off all means of retreat. It was either succeed or die trying. Be careful. Hong Mo could roughly guess what Ningyu was going to do. He brought along Ningyu's transcendent artifacts and retreated to the other side to protect Di Wentian. Who? Ningyu sat down cross-legged and adjusted his mental state to its peak. Then, he activated his spell and started devouring Di Wentian's talent. Talent and strength. Ningyu chose to devour the talent first, because after devouring Di Wentian's talent, he would devour his strength. The success rate would increase from 20% to 30%. This 10% success rate was not to be underestimated. A 10% success rate was enough to shake off countless people. Arg! With his talent devoured, Di Wentian once again let out a miserable shriek. But no matter how much Di Wentian struggled, the outcome was already decided. Swoosh! As Ningyu forcefully devoured, a golden cold light was extracted from Di Wentian's body. Without a doubt, this golden cold light was where Di Wentian's talent was. Gotcha! Without any hesitation, Ningyu threw the golden cold light into his mouth and chewed on it. Wung wung. As the cold light entered his mouth, Ningyu could clearly feel that his talent was soaring at a terrifying speed. As expected of the Emperor of the Sky Devils, Ningyu was slightly surprised. Strictly speaking, Di Wentian's talent was much higher than his. Not only that, Di Wentian had grasped a large number of alchemy techniques, martial techniques, and mental cultivation technique. In any case, when compared to Di Wentian, Ningyu was more like a country bumpkin. Back when he was at the immortal spirit realm, Ningyu's talent was still passable. Although it wasn't at the peak, it could be ranked above average. But after he reached the higher planes, Ningyu's talent dropped from above average to below average. All these years, if it wasn't for Ningyu having so many trump cards, it would have been very difficult for him to reach where he was now. Pung! As he continued to devour Di Wentian's talent, Ningyu's sea of consciousness actually underwent some changes. A dull sound rang out. Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape, a little dumbfounded. This was because Ningyu discovered that his cultivation had soared from early-stage virtual immortal to mid-stage virtual immortal. Is there a need to be so exaggerated? A look of disbelief appeared on Ningyu's face. He knew that his talent was much weaker than Di Wentian's, but he didn't expect it to be to this extent. In other words, if he swapped bodies with Di Wentian, then with Di Wentian's talent and his own body, his cultivation could definitely reach mid-stage virtual immortal, or even late-stage virtual immortal. Pung! This was proven by what happened next. When Ningyu completely devoured Di Wentian's talent, his cultivation actually soared another level, from mid-stage virtual immortal to late-stage virtual immortal. The successive increases in cultivation rendered Ningyu speechless. Now, even without devouring Di Wentian's strength, he could still fight against peak peerless immortals. Of course, that wasn't Ningyu's goal. What Ningyu wanted to do was to devour Di Wentian's strength and raise his own to the point where he could fight against a half-step Saint Immortal. Devour! The thought came to mind. Ningyu waved his hands and slapped Di Wentian's head. Buzz buzz. Di Wentian's strength was absorbed into Ningyu's body through Ningyu's palms. Suppress! Ningyu growled and began to suppress the strength that had entered his body. If he didn't suppress it, Ningyu could use Di Wentian's strength to raise his cultivation to peak virtual immortal, or even half-step peerless immortal. However, Ningyu knew very well. In a short time, his cultivation had already soared from half-step virtual immortal to late-stage virtual immortal. If his cultivation continued to rise, his foundation would inevitably become unstable, and his chances of breaking through to peerless immortal in the future would be greatly reduced. Therefore, no matter what, Ningyu had to suppress, and suppress again. Bam! Bam! Muffled sounds kept coming from Ningyu's body. Every muffled sound meant that Ningyu's strength had increased by 10%. Gulp! Hong Mo couldn't help but gulp when he saw Ningyu's strength continue to rise. Isn't this a little too terrifying? Di Wentian's face was filled with shock. At this rate, Ningyu's strength would break through the limit and reach the Saint Immortal realm in an hour at most. Drip. Time passed. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. Crack. Just as Ningyu was about to break through to the Saint Immortal realm, something unexpected happened. Chapter 22:22. Who's there? The sudden change made Ningyu's expression change slightly, and he immediately stopped devouring. Although he wouldn't be able to continue devouring once he stopped, Ningyu had no other choice. He could clearly sense that the weakest among the figures that suddenly appeared from the void was a late-stage peerless immortal. There were a total of 8 martial artists, 2 late-stage peerless immortals and 5 peak peerless immortals. The last one had a terrifying cultivation level of a half-step Saint Immortal. There was no way the Hong Mo alone could stop them. Therefore, Ningyu had to stop devouring Di Wentian. Di Wentian? The 8 martial artists all looked at Di Wentian, who was beneath Ningyu's feet after they appeared. Among them, the half-step Saint Celestial stage cultivators were slightly surprised. You actually defeated Di Wentian. Looks like you're not weak. The half-step Saint Immortal quickly shifted his gaze from Di Wentian to Ningyu. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Di Matian, Di Wentian's elder brother. The half-step Saint Immortal shrugged and said, Don't be nervous. Although I'm Di Wentian's elder brother, we're competitors. He attacked the Kungsu Alliance, and I attacked the Spiritual Tao Alliance. You killed Di Wentian for me. I have to thank you properly. As they spoke, Di Matian moved his feet and walked toward Ningyu step by step. Di Matian seemed to be walking very slowly, but that was not the case. In just a second, he arrived in front of Ningyu and stood still. Open your mind and let me control you. Di Matian's expression was calm as he said, I've never mistreated my servants. I'm sorry, but what you said is exactly what I wanted to say. Ningyu kicked Di Wentian's corpse away and said calmly, If you open your mind, I'll consider sparing your life. Sparing my life? Di Matian seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. Ah. He first threw his head back and laughed maniacally before he changed the topic and said coldly, Those who don't submit shall die. Swoosh. The word die was uttered. Di Matian rose from the ground and clenched his right hand into a fist. His fist brought about a violent gale of immortal qi and ruthlessly smashed toward Ningyu's head. Di Matian's punch was extremely powerful. If Ningyu was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Damn it! At the critical moment, Ningyu stomped on the ground and retreated quickly. Gotcha! Ningyu managed to avoid Di Matian's attack, but the void he was in was not spared. The void was completely torn apart. Why is there such a huge difference in their cultivation? Ningyu was shocked. Di Wentian was only an early-stage peerless immortal. However, Di Matian's cultivation had reached the shocking half-step Saint Immortal realm. As an early-stage peerless immortal, Di Wentian's overall strength was already comparable to a peak peerless immortal. One could imagine how terrifying Di Matian's strength was when he was a half-step Saint Immortal. He might even be able to slightly resist a true Saint Immortal expert. Di Matian was a little surprised. He hadn't expected a late-stage peerless immortal like Ningyu to be able to dodge his attack. One had to know that even a peak peerless immortal expert of the Spirit Tao Alliance couldn't withstand his attack. The 2 late-stage Peerless Immortals and 5 peak Peerless Immortals he had brought with him were all experts of the Spirit Tao Alliance. As for his trusted aides, they had been left in the Spirit Tao Alliance to prevent others from taking advantage of them. I'm getting more and more interested in you. Dimotian's lips curled up. Submit to me, and I can let you rule the Spirit Tao Alliance and become its leader. Ning Yu's expression was dark. He had a rough idea of Dimotian's true strength through his hasty exchange with Dimotian. Dimotian was slightly stronger than him. He had devoured Dimotian's strength, and his cultivation had advanced to late-stage Peerless Immortal. His strength had improved greatly. It wouldn't be easy for Dimotian to defeat him. What he was worried about now were the experts behind Dimotian. If those experts attacked together, he would definitely be defeated. I have to think of a way to draw them away. Ning Yu's eyes darted around as he thought to himself. All of a sudden, Ning Yu flicked his wrist and took out the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid. Heavenly Tribulation Fluid? Dimotian noticed the moment Ning Yu took out the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid. Peerless Immortal Level Heavenly Tribulation Fluid? Dimotian frowned slightly. In Dimotian's opinion, the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid in Ning Yu's hand must have been produced when Dimotian underwent his Peerless Immortal Tribulation. Submit to me, and you can have as much Heavenly Tribulation Fluid as you want, Dimotian tempted. However, Dimotian's expression changed slightly before he could finish his sentence. He realized that the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid in Ning Yu's hand was fundamentally different from Peerless Immortal Level Heavenly Tribulation Fluid. It seemed. The energy contained in Ning Yu's Heavenly Tribulation Fluid was even more terrifying. Could it be Saint Immortal Level Heavenly Tribulation Fluid? At the thought of this, Dimotian's face was filled with excitement. He was currently a half-step Saint Immortal and had recently been preparing to break through to the Saint Immortal realm. However, how difficult was it to break through to the Saint Immortal realm? Even though he had prepared a lot of resources for it, he still did not dare to try it recklessly. If he had Saint Immortal Level Heavenly Tribulation Fluid, the success rate of breaking through to the Saint Immortal realm would increase by at least 10%. The more he thought about it, the more excited Dimotian was. Hand over the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid and I can spare your life, Dimotian said to Ning Yu. Here. Ning Yu did not hesitate and threw the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid to Dimotian. But Dimotian was a little confused after receiving the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid from Ning Yu. He did not expect Ning Yu to hand over the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid to him so easily. There must be something fishy about it. Dimotian began to check the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid carefully. A while later, Dimotian retracted his perception, but his expression was unusually grave. Sometimes, the biggest problem was that he did not find anything wrong with it. There's no problem with the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid. You can consume it without worry. As he was thinking, Ning Yu's words suddenly rang in Dimotian's ears. Crack, crack, crack. The more Ning Yu said that there was no problem, the more Dimotian felt that there was something wrong. He clenched his fists so tightly that they cracked. Swoosh. After thinking about it, Dimotian flicked his wrist and threw half of the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid to Ning Yu. Hurry up and consume it, now. Dimotian said coldly, don't play tricks with me. If you don't obediently consume the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid, I don't mind killing your friend. On the other side, the Red Fiend had long been caught by a peak Peerless Immortal Martial Artist and could not move at all. You! Ning Yu's expression turned ugly. He pointed at Dimotian and said, I'm giving you the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid out of goodwill, but you don't trust me? What trust? Hurry up and consume it. Stop talking nonsense. Dimotian waved his hand and said impatiently. All right. Ning Yu revealed a determined expression. He gritted his teeth and poured all the Heavenly Tribulation Fluid into his mouth. Buzz. Once the heavenly tribulation fluid entered his stomach, Ningyu hurriedly sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. While Ningyu was cultivating, Dimotian's attention was always on him. Chapter 22-23. The speed at which Ningyu refined the heavenly tribulation fluid had reached a terrifying level. In just a few seconds, he had refined half of the heavenly tribulation fluid that Dimotian had tossed to him. Boom! Half of the heavenly tribulation fluid had been refined. Ningyu's cultivation level had risen from late-stage essence immortal to peak late-stage essence immortal. He was just half a step away from advancing to peak essence immortal. So terrifying? Dimotian's eyes widened in disbelief when he sensed the rise in Ningyu's aura. He knew that Ningyu was strong, but he had not expected him to be this strong. He had thought that Ningyu's strength was several levels lower than his. However, the strength that Ningyu had displayed was only one level lower than his. No, I can't let him continue devouring. Dimotian's expression darkened as he yelled at Ningyu, "Stop now, or I'll kill your friend." Stop? The corners of Ningyu's mouth curled up. What Dimotian did not know was that while he was thinking, Ningyu had secretly refined the rest of the heavenly tribulation fluid. In other words, Ningyu's cultivation level had risen from peak late-stage essence immortal to peak essence immortal. After advancing to peak essence immortal, Ningyu's combat strength had soared to the point where he could fight Dimotian. Swoosh! However, Ningyu did not choose to clash with Dimotian. Instead, he tore through the void and darted toward the Red Fiend. Saving the Red Fiend was his top priority. Everything else could be put aside for the time being. Damn it! Dimotian could not help but curse when he saw Ningyu enter the void. Bam! 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 Ningyu was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was beside the Red Fiend. He threw 3 consecutive punches. The 3 peak peerless immortal martial artists beside the Red Fiend were sent flying. Ningyu did not expend much energy to deal with these peak peerless immortal martial artists. He knew very well that his true opponent was Dimotian. Swoosh! As expected, Ningyu had just rescued the Red Fiend when Dimotian flew out from the void. Dimotian's fist brought along violent immortal chi waves as he ruthlessly punched toward Ningyu's head. Kill. It was a critical moment. Ningyu channeled his immortal chi into the red demon's sword and slashed out. Voila! Suddenly, a huge sword light appeared, colliding with Dimotian's fist light with no way of dodging. Gotcha! The two collided and both dissipated in the world. With this move, Ningyu and Dimotian were evenly matched. Nurturing a tiger is inviting calamity. Dimotian glared at Ningyu and was extremely furious. Dimotian was very regretful. He regretted being deceived by Ningyu and giving Ningyu tens of seconds of time. It was these tens of seconds that allowed Ningyu to refine the thunder tribulation fluid and advance his cultivation level from late-stage essence immortal to peak-stage essence immortal. Ningyu's overall combat power had reached a level where he could contend with him. You guys go to Stellar Sky City first. Dimotian's expression was gloomy. He knew very well that Ningyu had already matured. He would not be able to defeat Ningyu in a short period of time. Instead of wasting time with Ningyu here, he might as well send people to Stellar Sky City first and plunder the Kuan-Su alliance clean. After all, Diwentian had already been killed. The Kuan-Su alliance would definitely be leaderless and in chaos. If he sent a few peak-stage peerless immortals over now, wouldn't he be able to easily take control of the Kuan-Su alliance? Where do you think you're going? Ningyu took a step forward and stood in front of those peak-stage peerless immortals. On the Stellar Sky City side, only an old man in white had decent strength, but he was only a peak-stage peerless immortal. What would happen if 7 or 8 peak-stage and peak-stage peerless immortals went there at once? Therefore, Ningyu would never let them go no matter what. Humph! Your opponent is me. Di Matian snorted coldly, then quickly dashed out to fight Ningyu. Damn it! Ningyu's expression was extremely ugly. His strength was almost on par with Di Matian. How could he break out of this situation? However, just as Ningyu was feeling helpless, something unexpected happened. The 7 peak stage peerless immortals who had left not long ago flew back and fell heavily to the ground. Fresh blood spurted from their mouth. In an instant, the 7 peak stage peerless immortals were all dead. Di Lingtian. The sudden turn of events caused Di Matian's expression to change drastically. He gritted his teeth. It's not good to be distracted now. Ningyu didn't care about Di Lingtian at all. He was fighting Di Matian, and his main mission was to defeat him. Di Matian's momentary daze gave him an opportunity. Ningyu would never give up on an opportunity that was hard to come by. The red devil sword in his hand stabbed out quickly and accurately, piercing Di Matian's chest. Fortunately, Di Matian dodged at the crucial moment. Otherwise, Ningyu's sword alone would have been enough to kill Di Matian. Smack! 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 Several smacking sounds could be heard. Then, a young martial artist appeared out of thin air. Without a doubt, this young martial artist was the Di Lingtian that Di Matian had mentioned. I'm not too late. The show is just starting. Di Lingtian's lips curled up as he said sinisterly, Di Matian, I didn't expect you to be unable to defeat a peak virtual immortal martial artist. You're a disgrace to the Skyfiends. Di Matian, stop making sarcastic remarks. Di Matian said coldly. If it weren't for you, I would have killed Ningyu long ago. It's all because of you. I spoiled your plans. Di Lingtian was slightly taken aback, then he quickly shook his head. No, no, no. You've misunderstood. I didn't mean it earlier. What I'm going to do next is really going to spoil your plans. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Di Lingtian stomped on the ground and rushed out quickly. Seeing Di Lingtian rush out, Ningyu's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly retreated. Di Lingtian's target was placed on Di Matian. After all, Di Lingtian did not know Ningyu's true battle prowess. In his heart, Di Matian's threat was far greater than Ningyu's. Moreover, if he killed Di Matian, the Spiritual Tao Alliance's resources would all belong to him. There were many imperial princes among the Skyfiends. Every imperial prince required a lot of resources to cultivate. The reason why Di Matian and Di Lingtian's cultivation was higher than Di Wentian's was because they had defeated many alliances and snatched many resources. Otherwise, how could their cultivation be so much higher than Di Wentian's? It won't be that easy to kill me. Looking at Di Lingtian, who was rushing towards him, Di Matian did not hesitate to burn his blood essence and attacked with all his might. However, even though Di Matian attacked with all his might, he was still unable to block Di Lingtian's attack. Fresh blood spurted out. Di Matian's aura instantly dropped from half-step divine immortal to freezing point. In comparison, Di Lingtian's aura was still half-step divine immortal. How is this possible? Di Matian's face was filled with disbelief. Because he realized that Di Lingtian had not come in his main body, but a clone. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.